called Critter Busters?
Dad's all torn up and Mom's got like a harpoon thing in her neck and they're getting bigger.
They'll eat anything.
Those, man-eating hairballs that you do not believe in.
Critters. They bite.
Welcome back, everybody, to They Bite podcast. It is a very special, shall I say, Christmas episode because we have special guests today. Sean, you want to introduce him?
We have Chris Hampton. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Hampton.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
So if you guys follow our podcast any or listen to the past few episodes or follow the Critters Rehatch Facebook group, you should know that Chris Hampton is the one who did the Critters 2 sculpt that was on display at the Kyoto Brothers booth in, Monster Palooza?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the best.
It's on display in my apartment.
Yes, the third Chris got it. He ended up getting that. But yeah, no, I made that one. It's mostly, I mean, I did a lot of the sculpt, but there is some stuff pulled from some of the original molds that I was able to acquire a long time ago from the Kyoto Brothers. So there was a lot that had to be redone because the molds were in such bad shape. They've been sitting outside for a really long time and pretty much falling apart. I tried to blow a little air into it to clean out the dust and spider webs, and big chunks blew out of the mold. So they were in terrible shape. 25 years of sitting in the weather. So, but yeah, I ended up doing my version of it, I guess. But there's still some stuff from the originals in there.
Yeah, and I'd say this is the best looking sculpt that I've seen anybody do for a replica. It looks like it came right out of the movie.
I appreciate it. I spent a long, long time, since I was a kid, pretty much trying to just like study them. And I wanted it to be right. I didn't even do it I didn't do it for, to sell it, to show it off or anything like that. I only did it because there wasn't another one out there. Otherwise, I'd have just bought one myself or had the molds been good enough to just cast one out of. I'd have just casted one out and just kept it for myself. And that was kind of the original deal when I talked to Charlie. I was going to make a master for him and then just keep a casting for myself. But there ended up having to be so much work to get it anywhere near what it ended up being. So that's the only reason I even did it in the first place. I'm just one of you guys, just a nerd for this stuff. Just love it. And having pretty much the movie first came out, I'm old.
So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about the Blu-ray box set cover that they used the image of your critter you sculpted.
It's really not really too much to talk about. I think somebody on the Facebook page brought it up, and I didn't even pay attention to it, to be honest.
It was me. Yeah. I noticed it instantly.
Attention, but that was the photo that I took because, it's really the reason I even found you guys was because there was a bunch of people posting the pictures, but they were terrible, and the video was terrible, and that's something that when you...
Not us, man.
But it's just in general when, if you go to these shows, a lot of times the art pieces will be put a little bit farther back because the best way to take a photo or a video is to be farther away and zoom in. Because if you get close, it distorts the image. It kind of fish bowls and does all this weird distortion. And people were posting it and saying, oh, it looks cool. But I'm like, oh, it looks terrible in these photos. So I actually just put a quick one up that I didn't even like, to be honest. It doesn't look right from that angle. But, again, I'm super picky anyway.
I had that picture as the wallpaper on my cell phone for months, man. So as soon as it was on the Blu-ray box set, I was like, that's stolen,
Yeah. Well, it was. And I actually contacted those guys, and it wasn't out of anger or anything, but it does happen. I have a lot of friends that do this for a living. They just create their own art pieces, or they do replicas or their own versions of things. and people will take a photo, and then they'll create posters and they'll create shirts and they'll go around selling them. And it's really annoying because it's not their work, and it's also not even like you're taking a still from a movie or something. You're taking a photo from somebody's work, and that's usually just it's not appropriate for that. So
I agree.
So because of that, I contacted him only. I even told him, I was like, listen, I don't care. Cool, go ahead and use it, but just so you know, that's not cool. It's more of just,
moral.
You don't want to start that kind of, you just don't want that to be common or too much common in, people.
And it has become more and more common. I was talking the other day about just how, like, bootleg merchandise has made a comeback. Like, it's bigger than it ever was and whatnot, and that's just, like, a good example. Critters is almost the best example because any fan merchandise, even, like, that Fright Rags, they just, like, took screen grabs from things, like, and you'll see so many people take a person's, like, hand-drawn fan art, and, like, someone, like, a year later will, like, digitalize it and make it, like, better, and you're like, well, I know where that originated. It's just, it's, like, hard to control.
Yeah, and, and I get it because I don't mind, like, hell, I'll take a picture or something like that and make a shirt. I've never done it, but I would. Like, why not if it's for myself? But if you're going to be selling it or using it for advertising, most people wouldn't even care so much, I think, if you just said, hey, do you mind? Simple as that.
Well, I will say this. I mean, if I were you, I'd be flattered a bit because you made it onto the cover of the box set. But they did make it look not as good on the cover.
Well, nothing looked good on the cover. I don't want to sit here and...
that cover sucks. Yeah.
I was disappointed in myself just because it seemed so... They went out of their way. I thought the covers that they offered on the actual DVDs were great. Even the two with just the two on it that I know you guys don't like, I actually don't mind because that, as a kid in the video store, that's what I saw before the video came out. Yeah. A little bit of advertising.
I kind of wanted to get your opinion on this too, Chris, because if you look at those Blu-ray covers, especially the one for Critters 2, like the reverse wraparound, it is it's a different color. The original cover was like blue, and then the one they used for the Blu-ray is purple, and it almost kind of feels like it's a bootleg of itself, like they couldn't find an image or something, so they just made their own.
Yeah, they highly contrasted it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily study probably the covers and things like that as much as you guys might, but I do know that there's a lot of slightly different versions of all of that. It's like a basic art that was done, and then there's adjustments in colors. Some of them look more silver, some look more white in the highlight areas. Some have like that blue tint, like you said. I've seen a big highlighted red around the two. I've also seen it where it looks all silver. I've seen quite a few different ones. To me, I just looked at it as an overall image, and I didn't mind it at all. Again, though, that's because when a couple like newspapers, when I was a kid, we didn't have internet, we didn't have trades, we didn't have anything to find out if a movie was coming up or if it was being made. We had Movie Time. Like I was telling you before, it was E before it was...
that's where you saw... continue, yeah.
So that's what you'd... And even that was late 80s. So you would basically be watching... They used to have this thing called Movie Magic, too. I'm sure you've heard of that. That would be behind the scenes and stuff, which was usually after things were out, obviously. But there just wasn't for a kid in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I basically lived in a Grover's Bend town. There's a couple thousand people. Fangorias were hard to get. It was just tiny. So to find out any information, I used to look through Inquirers, or I'd look through random, just any magazine I could find, and that would have, because I wanted to be an actor as a kid and all this kind of stuff. So I was big into the movies, and I loved horror and all that. That's the only way you could find this stuff. So you'd see the Critters 2 with the 2. That to me was
So you have like a bias over that art. I get it.
Well, not necessarily a bias. I just don't mind it. I love the Critter Ball one because that's when you finally got the VHS. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So, but I loved it. I was really happy with that part of it. And that's why I was kind of disappointed getting back to the cover art. Was like, that's cool that they used that picture I took and put up on the thing, but I was like, man, you guys could have really done something cool. And I really just want to say I'm not harping on those guys because, thank God, it finally came out. I've been pushing for this for so long with the Kyoto Brothers for anything, just to get any type of better behind the scenes, better quality of the videos, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
me and Sean were doing the same thing. I was messaging, calling people all the time, trying to see if they could just release something. And I finally got a hold of Dwight Roberts, who worked on the first movie, and talked to him a little bit. And he was like, "I'll see what I can find." And he ended up digging up a couple of videos, which they didn't even use on the Blu-ray set.
yeah, the Kyoto brothers, at least Charlie. I've known those guys now for quite a while because it was well over 10 years ago that I went there for the molds and stuff. So I've mostly spoken with Charlie and Ed and Steven too, but mostly Charlie, and he's talked about it, how much stuff that they have. And even 10 years ago, I was really trying to push them, let's put something together. I'll help you. I'll pay for it, whatever. But they're busy. They're doing stuff, and it's all on videos that half the home video is their home videos at home too. So it's not like they can just pass off of all the VHS copies that they have. Because back in those days, right, in the 80s, you don't have multiple cameras. You have like one giant, huge tank on your shoulder. It looks like a rocket launcher. And you basically went home and videotaped your kids opening presents on Christmas Day, and then you went to work and videotaped what you had. And so, right, I mean, pictures back then were tough because half the pictures you took were crap because you couldn't tell until they were developed. So it's been really tough, I know, to get that. But when I did talk to Charlie, I think I brought it up to you guys that at one point it didn't seem like there was going to be any behind the scenes because they weren't really talking to those guys a ton. And Charlie had said that they put together a bunch of pictures and a bunch of behind the scenes, then the vast majority of it was not used. But I can
kind of tell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to be that guy. But the Blu-ray, I mean, I am very pleased with it too. I'm happy it came out. I've been waiting like my whole fucking life to see behind the scenes footage. But it was kind of underwhelming how little there was, man. Especially for the first movie, I thought. So I don't want to sound like that guy, but it's especially, maybe it's just because you've told me that there's so much more. It's like once that behind the scenes footage ended on the first one, I was kind of like, that's it? Damn.
You know what, that you're never going to be happy because you'll always want more, just like I will.
Yeah, well,
everyone.
I mean, obviously, we spent decades obsessing over these movies. I don't think anything's ever going to really, like, appease the dragon we're chasing.
Yeah, I mean, even when I did the critter that you ended up getting, as far as making them, I just finished molding the second critter from part 2. I just did another one because there were some changes I wanted to make, and also there's more than one critter. So, I mean, even just costing me.
The one you're making now is the one that is more common on screen, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's what it is the one that I did. We'll have to go back to this because I might as well just, if I'm going to tell the story of kind of acquiring the molds and how it came to be what it is. And
oh, okay, you haven't told that story yet?
That's like kind of its own story in itself. But
yeah,
I mean, I gave a little brief talk about just getting the molds, but it was like a little introduction, I guess. But
okay, yeah.
The one that I did that you got, I just basically, I was frustrated because of the one that had gotten leaked a long time ago. That was a kind of it was my first real quick. It's what I pressed a couple spots out of what I could get from the mold. And I did a quick, I sculpted it as best I could and it looked good. I mean, it's not like the most impossible sculpt to get close to what it is. So I did that, and I basically got the molds. I wanted to get the masters to the Kyotos as quick as possible. And because I was just wanted them out, especially since the molds were getting kind of destroyed. I didn't want to look like the guy who broke the Critters molds. Yeah, especially the only ones we could find. And so when I went to get those back to Charlie, somebody who we're not going to discuss on here was the middleman for that kind of, Charlie said, hey, give them to so-and-so. He'll stop by, and then he'll just bring them back over to our shop. And that ended up taking, instead of a 10-minute drive, a few months. And some of them were casted out and sold. So
yeah, they're stolen. Fucking bullshit.
They were stolen, yeah. And a couple people online have asked me like, oh, well, those should be for everybody and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I'm cool with that. I'm not saying no one should have this stuff. My thing was that, the Kyotos had given me, at least the way I see it, maybe not everybody else would, but people like you would as well. Like, that's a really big deal. That's something that you know, as a little kid, I remember calling the Kyoto Brothers I was probably 10 years old. It was right after part 2 came out. And some of the stuff Sean's already heard, but I'll tell him.
Yeah, but I don't mind hearing it at all again.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it. But we got these trade catalog type things that kind of are for industry specialists and stuff. It's almost like a Yellow Pages. Maybe somehow, since I was trying to be an actor as a little kid, that my mom got a hold of one. I don't know. Somehow I got a hold of the Kyoto Brothers and, well, their receptionist. And I remember acting like I was trying to be like a grown man, and I just said, money is no object. Please, how much would it be for you to make me a critter? Or to get one of the critters? And, of course, they laughed me off the phone because they're like, we don't own critters. And, you know, and anyway. So that was a big deal to me when I finally got it. Like, even as a kid, that was something I really, really wanted to have.
Well, absolutely. You were 10 for this story right here about?
I would say, yeah, it was right after. I was born in '78, so when
exactly. I mean, Chris,
about,
you could picture me and you doing this if we got the chance as kids. So I mean, I could put myself right in your shit. Just the fact that they answered the phone, I'd be like, oh my God, I got close. Yeah.
It might have been one of their wives. It was a lady. It was a receptionist, and I could tell she was very nice, but she was giggling because she could tell that there was a little.
Oh, I'm sure you sounded 10, dude. Yeah.
The worst part is I didn't just try to make my voice deep. I tried to sound proper. I was like, yes, money is no object. And it's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, that same kind of story happened to me whenever I was a teenager. I tried to call Warner Brothers Studios to get information about getting rights or like writing a story for them for Critters. And, like, they would not put me through to anybody, and they were just kind of, like, laughing at me.
Yeah. Warner Brothers is much harder than, I was lucky that it was an effects shop, because at least you can talk to people there, but you talk to Warner Brothers, they're just like, Jesus Christ, I don't care if you were, unless you're Steven Spielberg, you're not just getting through to anybody, you know, so.
Yeah.
It's a losing battle. But, so anyway, like I said, that was, you know, I go off all over the place, so. Back to that was the reason that it was a very big deal. And when I was really worried that the Kyotos didn't get their molds right away, because Charlie had called me up and said, hey, are you planning those molds by? And I was like, I sent them over. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I felt terrible. So I kind of I made one copy for myself of the head. And it wasn't that great. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't great. That's the one that I think, there's a few people selling it out there. They say it's from the
RZ Effects, the Elite guy, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Now I'm not going to harp on any of them because I highly, highly doubt that they were told anything. But this is from the molds. It couldn't have been though because there were polyfoam copies that were taken out, and you're not going to get a polyfoam copy out of it.
Yes, and I recall for years those foam copies going around on like movieprops.com as props from the movie, and I fell for it, you know. And I remember thinking, man, I hope someone casts those someday so they can make a critter, you know. And I fell for it when I bought it from from RZ Effects, you know. And until I talked to you, I remember you really burst the bubble on it, but it made sense in a way because
I contacted a couple
too many copies.
Yeah, I contacted a couple people just to let them know because I saw them posting. And I was just like, hey, I'm not going to tell you to stop selling them. I'm not doing anything like that. But it isn't officially it's not from the original molds. There's pieces up that I pressed. I did get some spots. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely some original Critter stuff in there, but even that, re-sculpted the whole thing. And
yeah, it's more you than anything. You got the fucking size and the shape down pretty much, and then you can tell that, you know, you added the detail and whatnot, but I don't know. It's perfect, man. I mean, I don't think anyone out there is ever going to do a better Critter than you, and I don't see the Kyoto Brothers probably ever making one again, so.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing, though. When people say this is my Critter, it's not. Like, the better it is, which I appreciate it. I'm proud of it and all. But the better that it is, the less it's mine. Because I'm really just somebody's art. I mean, the Kyotos designed it and they made it, and I just tried to make it exactly as best I could, which there's definitely.
Now, the one you made for me, well, you didn't make it for me, but the one I have, the one you had at Monsterpalooza, did you have a mold of that facial expression, or was that kind of your sculpt to get that facial expression? I know you were trying to emulate the Fangoria cover.
Yeah, well, I was trying to get a little closer to that. I did. So what I had was the original. When we went through all the original stuff, I basically went to the shop one day and I was like a kid in a candy store. Charlie was as cool as you could possibly think of for someone coming up and just saying, "Hey, what do you think about me taking these molds from you? You know, if you got them." So
Yeah, really.
He said, "There, go back there, go look around, see what you could find." He came out for a little while. We went through and I found, I want to say, like 1.5 heads, maybe 2 full ones, or maybe there was partial, because basically the heads are the head and body are separate the way they did them for part 2 at least. There's no existing mold for part 1. There's nothing left. So the head and body were separate, and each of those are 2-piece molds. So technically it'd be, if you include the core, it's 3 pieces for the head, 3 pieces for the body. Couldn't find the core mold, but I did find a couple. I found at least 1 full, I want to say maybe 2 full heads. And found the body. The body is a lot closer to the original than anything else. The body is a couple inches down from the mouth. All that was separate. That was pretty close because I was able to get a lot from that. That mold wasn't too bad. I was able to find 1 arm, or most of, I think it was either one, this is a long time ago. I think it was a whole arm. Detail was pretty much gone, but I found an arm mold. And I think a leg mold, or half a leg mold, something weird like that. Charlie found the baby, but it was not a full, it was not the mold. It was we'll cast like a master casting sometimes out of these molds when we make stuff. And,
Okay.
So there was a master silicone, but it had no arms and legs, and a big portion of the body and face was gone. It was just like, because the silicone does not last. The one that I made that you have is a platinum silicone. It lasts a lot longer, but this was probably cast with accelerant in it, and it was done in 1987, 88. So it was kind of
born.
So I got that. That was all. Yeah, that was pretty much it. So when I was able to get these little parts, once I tried to blow air into it and it blew apart, I was panicking. So I used that mold to press what I could. And then there was another one that I just didn't touch. I gave that back to him. And that did get back to the Kyotos, and nothing could have been casted from it because it would have been destroyed.
No.
And then, so what I did was, that was the one that I originally did was the one, like I said, the RZFX and all them have. So I took that years later. This was actually only a couple years ago. I actually went back and redid it, maybe like 5-6 years ago. Because I was kind of keeping it under the radar. I didn't want to be associated with people who were taking it, even though it didn't matter. It did to me. That the Kyotos might think I was out there trying to sell parts and just put them on the mass market type thing. So I ended up and I just did it with more expression. And all I did is I sunk down the brow a little bit. I beefed up the nose, and I know that there's another head that, well, not a head, but there's some of the sculpts were more similar to that too, because I have other friends like that worked on the film, so they've told me about it and stuff. So they were able to, I'm like, okay, cool. So I had some people that were able to help me out and make sure that it was on the right track. And that's why I did it different, to be different than the one that was already out, because I didn't want to look like the guy who was doing another RZFX one.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you probably didn't tell this story, but some of these molds were lost in a fire, correct?
All of the molds were lost in a fire.
All of the molds were lost in a fire, yes.
So the molds that I made, which was the ones that they were a silicone matrix mold, they're called. So that's what people were able to cast the polyfoam out of. And that's why the bubbles are in there too, because if you don't cast it correctly, you get a lot of bubbles up against silicone because there's a surface tension in it.
Yeah.
So that's another reason. And also the head and body, the head was cut at a slight like wedge, and then the body fit that wedge so that the head and body could fit together more like a key. And the way I did it was I just filled that in at the bottom. So they were flat at the bottom, and you could see the markings. In the castings I was seeing online, that was in there. So that was another reason I know that was from the one I made. So those were given to the Kyotos. It was only actually the head and body, though, because at the time I didn't have time to I had to basically completely resculpt the arms and legs. there was some form for one of the arms, and I had to match the other one. And I think the same for the legs. So there's I had to match a leg and then do all the detail and stuff. But I was way off from doing that, and I was too busy. So that's why no one ever got arms and legs involved in those, thankfully.
Right. Yes.
And
yeah.
so I gave the head
or
spot,
teeth. Fuck nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. No teeth. Now the teeth on yours, the bottom teeth are a direct cast. Well, they're not from the original molds, but I got a original casting from the molds from the Kyoto. So that one I did have. I had the bottom jaw from part 2, and I got an upper and lower from part 3, which, as Sean knows, I don't care about at all. So, because I'm not interested in doing those. So I had the
My
bottom.
theory is that you secretly do.
No. So the uppers, unfortunately, they're so different, and they're so much bigger. They're way, way bigger. I couldn't even use those. A couple people have, because the
I've seen, yes. There's a mold that got out there from part 3 of the teeth.
Well, I molded those teeth. I molded the upper and lower to give to the Kyotos, and I did not mold the lower for part 2 at the time yet. So that's why the part 2 ones I don't think were ever out. Maybe I did mold the bottom, but I had to resculpt the whole upper palate, which I got to admit I want to make some changes on, just because I'm just super picky. I mean, I can look at tiny millimeters I want to change them, but I'm going to. Anyway, like I said, I'll go all over the place with this shit.
Well,
So
me and Sean will take anything Critters 3 related.
Oh, I have some stuff from Critters 3. I can definitely tell you some stories too, but they're and just anecdotal stuff that I've heard from the Kyotos and some people that worked on it. But
did anybody ever see Rosie naked?
Oh no. So we basically, those molds got given to. They got back to the Kyotos and they had them for a while, but I don't think they ever did anything with them. And then somebody else, Charlie had said, they were going to give those molds to someone else, and they were going to start doing some replicas. And apparently that they got those, and I think maybe even the other couple originals that were in shambles, and they were all lost in a big fire at this guy's shop. So apparently now, from what I was told from Charlie, is unfortunately those molds are everything Critters related that the Kyotos had that was left is definitely gone now.
So that was the big critter fire of what, like 2012, would you say this was?
To be honest, I have no idea. I don't know. I just heard about it. I basically got in contact with Charlie again maybe a year and a half ago. Him and Ed I was talking to, because I was planning on, I wanted to show the critter that I was doing, but I wanted them to approve it, and I wanted to put it in their display, because it's not mine.
Yeah.
Like I said, the better I do, the more it's theirs. The worse it is, the more it's mine, is the way I look at it. So,
well, everyone else that got a hold of the original mold certainly made it theirs.
Yeah, I'll leave it as yes.
I said it.
Yeah. So anyway, thankfully, I did have my original. I had my original cast of the head that is not an original from the movie, but it's as close as you're going to possibly get. At least I had that, which is I started sculpting this new one, just freeform, and I sculpted it, and I was moving, but it wasn't happening fast enough, so I just basically pressed my other one and did a better version. So it's more similar to that one original, which is just less expression. The RZ effects one and all that, it has the eyes closed. I was able to press one eye, and at the time I was like, perfect. I'm going to because that was basically a puppet head. You sculpt most of the whole eye closed. That way you have a lid, and then otherwise normally you'd want the eyes a little bit more open so you can key in the core and do all stuff. So I opened the eyes and did all the stuff. So that's the other reason that I wanted to have another one from part 2 that was a little bit more straightforward, less expression, because their other ones are gone. So now at least the ones that I have are as close as they're going to be, and they exist. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to see everything that you're working on, honestly, man. And I don't know if I told Chris this yet, but I plan on getting one of those baby Crites. And
the babies are done too. I mean, I'm finishing up. The arms are going to be separate, so I cut the arms off, and I got to basically just finish those up and cast them, or mold them and cast them up. But that baby is a little bit. It's probably 50% of the original form and some detail even. from the very original one that I was given to, but I just had to resculpt and match the rest. And I'm doing the arms different because they're a little Dorito-y, the fingernails and stuff on the originals, because they had to be done fast. They're small and they had to be mechanical. Mine don't. So I'm going to do those a little bit differently. But the babies will be done. They are done. I'm going to probably be showing those here pretty soon as well.
Awesome, man. Hey,
doing one
story I think people would appreciate too is how you recently, after years of looking, have come across something that I don't know if you said it is, or it's very close to kind of the stop sign paint that was used for the eyes in the Critters, and you just recently came across it. Yeah, that'd be a good story to hear.
That's something that's been really, really bothering me for a long time, because when I did the ones that you got, I did an LED buried into the eye, and that's only because it has the least like illumination to it. It still glows, but it doesn't have it's not as sourcey as if I were to do it any other way. I guess I didn't want to use glow in the dark stuff, but it's still not right. Critter eyes, the first one, they were clear, and they had to use the beam splitter with a red light, all that. Everyone knows that story. And in part 2 and 3 and on, they coated these clear spheres with a little bit of a red paint that was translucent, so that they didn't always have to have the beam splitter on, especially if you had 50 critters running around. But they had Scotch-Light paint that was in the back, and that's what made the eyes so just different and cool. They didn't glow, they didn't illuminate, they had this cool reflection to them. And if you hit the light just right, it looked like it was lit up, and it was great.
Right. Now, I've seen this in person because, who is it in the group? James. He has the prop of the ran over crate, so he had me put my flashlight on the phone and hold it up and stuff to see it in person, and it really is amazing in person. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's something that really frustrated me, trying to do that, and I've been doing tests for a few years, trying to figure something out. I'm getting glass reflective beads and reflective spray paint, and I've gone they stopped making the Scotch-Light, I guess, right after they finished 2 and 3. Or, I mean, 3 and 4, because it was around 90.
So it was gone by the 90s.
Yeah, and Charlie, when I was looking at those molds a long time ago, he gave me a can of it, but it's been dried out for however long, because it's
right.
It doesn't last. It's very.
Well, you even said the stuff that you finally got, once you open it, you kind of have to fucking use it, right?
Yeah, I opened mine for a couple tests, and then I've sealed it back up, and I keep it in a cool room just because it's very expensive for a little tiny container, and it took me a really, really long time to find it, because I don't know, and I don't know how close it is to the original Scotch-Light, except for I do know that it's working pretty well. I think I sent you a picture of just a random eye that has a pretty good glow to it.
No, I don't think you did. I'd love to see it, though.
Yeah, I could say it's just one of the tests. It's not done, but
yeah.
Basically, I have to do all the eyes at once. I'm going to do a whole bunch just so it doesn't dry up.
Right.
A little bit of information, or I guess trivia for the first Critters movie is they weren't actually going to use red for their glowing eyes at first. They were actually going to use green.
Yeah.
And you can see a little bit of the green in the actual behind-the-scenes footage on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I did not notice that, dude.
I didn't notice it as anything intentional. I noticed a little bit, but I just thought it might have been just the color and all the grain from, just the video being old. I heard it was going to be yellow and you didn't see their teeth, and then when they got mad, it turned red. But the good thing about what they did with the beam splitters, you could have pretty much picked any color you want, and you just hit it right, and that glow would come out because the eyes were clear. So.
Now, did they use that paint on the eyes for the part 3 and 4 Critters then?
Yeah. They did.
They did. Okay.
Because sometimes when I'm watching, I don't watch them that often, but I definitely watched on the Blu-rays. Me and my son just had a little Critters Fest, watched everything on all the DVDs in one day.
And yeah.
Some of the times it does look like they actually were lit up. Like they're actually...
I think so, too. The scene after they kill Leo's stepdad there, and they're all on the couch, that doesn't look reflective. That looks kind of like Mine Man with the LED lights lit up.
Mm-hmm. But I will say, though, if you do hit the beam splitter just right, from what I understand anyway, you won't notice it anywhere else really, but exactly kind of where it's going. So maybe they just hit it just right, because there's a couple shots, and even the original, that it looks like when the eyes are coming up, you know, in the kitchen scene where the eyes are coming up, but they look almost lit.
Yeah, brilliant scene. Yeah.
So, I don't know. And from when I talked to Charlie, I mean, believe me, whenever I go to the Kyoto shop and I'll sit there for hours with Charlie and just talk. Be honest, mostly. But
here's a fact too that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'd say from part 3, the ones I've seen, because they have a couple of those, they are the Scotch light in the back for sure.
You also confirmed for me that in part 3 there are critters from part 2, which I always had the theory on. It's maybe 2
There's
scenes
footage.
only.
There's definitely
it's footage.
Yeah, I don't know if they were used in the shooting, but because it looks like that they might have just toned the colors down. But the scene in part 2 where they're at Nana's house and it's about to burst and jump on them, that exact critter, which is kind of one of their hero ones from part 2, the Fangoria one.
Exactly.
That one is in part 3 for sure. And
and I think maybe they tinted it all red so that it looked like the hallway lit up with the flare or whatever then. Because I've always noticed that. And then there is another scene where it has 3 of them next to each other and they have blood on their lips, but it looks like the ones from the big cow eating scene at the end of part 2 before the critter ball and whatnot. And that could definitely be footage from that too. So yeah, okay. So it's footage. They didn't actually use them in Critters 3.
I don't know. That I can't tell you, but I do know it's there because the one thing, I mean, if I know anything, I can say I'm an expert on each movie, what they look like. Even 3 and 4 that I'm not a big fan of the look, I know exactly. Yeah. Part 1, 2, and 3 are completely different sculpt. They're just different. They're 1 and 2 are similar in a lot of ways. But 1 is besides just being smaller, they have, I mean, I've always said they look like a real animal, and Steven said that in the behind the scenes. I was like, exactly what I did. Forever. I love that he said that, because that's what I felt as a kid. That's why I liked them better than Gremlins. Right. Because it seemed like something you might run into somewhere. It's the world of possibility is there for that, you know, and
I think they still look real in part 2 as well. They're just, the bigger size makes it actually look like, I don't know, a big fucking badger or something. Well, but part 1 they look like a rodent you might run into out in the woods or some shit.
Yeah, well, part 2 they're definitely way more refined, and they are. Remember, part 2 came just as they finished shooting all their killer clowns. So if you really look, Steven and Charlie and Ed's, they're like design sense that is on full showcase in their movie, in Killer Clowns, shows a lot more through in Critters 2. Critters 2, those sculptures, they are in the same agree. As Killer Clowns, and I think that's because they had Killer Clowns on the mind and they were going for it, and I think it lent itself perfectly to Critters.
Me too. You would show someone Critters 2 and Killer Clowns and they could tell that it's the same guys, whereas I think in Critters it doesn't look so much like what they, you're right, exactly.
But they're different in a way that, I mean, that I can appreciate. I couldn't tell you which one I like better. I might lean towards part 1, at least like the main one that they used, the one that was killing Billy Zane, the one that you see on top of the couch. That's all.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Not the one in the car?
Not as big of a fan of that one, but I would take that. I still would take that over part 3 because it's Kyoto.
Fuck that, dude. I don't know about that. What do you think, Chris?
I don't like the one in the car. It looks like there's something wrong with it. Like they messed up something and they had to just throw pieces together. That's what it looks like.
Like its mouth just falls open. It doesn't even look like it's chewing on car parts. It looks like it broke and all the wires came out.
It almost reminds me of Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs a little bit. Like it just
But we got to edit something funny over that clip.
Well, there's Charlie was telling me a little bit because I was talking a little bit back and forth with one of the guys on the Facebook page, and one of my things was, I'm going to be critical about anything that's officially Critters. That's just how I go about it because it's my, so it's just like yours, it's our thing, and if it's fan stuff, I'm not criticized. It's because it's the fan art. People are just doing what they can, and they're loving it. But if you're going to put the official, this is Critters on it. So anyway, I was giving a little bit of, which we can get into the new binge stuff here in a minute.
Yeah, let's do that.
They're kind of like, if the Kyotos had designed it like this, you wouldn't like, or you'd just be kind of kissing the Kyoto's butt. And I'm like, that isn't true because I talked to Charlie and I was like, hey man, I'm not a huge fan of 3 and 4. Like, why did you guys why is it so different from part 2? When I think they kind of perfected what the Critters should be in part 2, even though I kind of like part 1 better for the little bit of more realism. I think for what the franchise is, I think 2 would have been perfect. And besides that, they just needed to make them bigger, which that's new sculptures. They were working really heavily on Ernest Scared Stupid. So
you can kind of see it too, can't you, man? You kind of see it.
Well, Ernest Scared Stupid, you could tell also is very heavily Kyoto look, and those I love Scared Stupid. I've always loved those trolls, and a lot of people have used that kind of style, but they don't nail it. Like,
aren't there reused killer clowns in some scenes in Ernest Scared Stupid? As a matter of fact,
I've heard some of that, but I have not heard it from any of the brothers by any. But I would definitely assume so because why?
It looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have to use actual killer clowns, but you can cast it out of the molds and then resculpt.
Right.
Add and stuff.
Right.
And that's what we do in this industry, no matter what anyone says, is sometimes you do have to refabricate some stuff because budgets are not. I mean, that's the other thing with, the cost of these, which we're not going to get into, but people don't understand why they're expensive. And to do something right or nice, it's very time-consuming. It's very expensive. The labor is, it'll take to do a Critter for the movie wouldn't be quite as long. You have a big crew. Everything is ready for you. And it still takes a long time. But to do them by yourself,
exactly.
It's really hard. That's why it's expensive. So people refabricate these all the time. But I did mention it because I didn't like it. And besides the fact that they had to make them bigger for the animatronics and stuff, they also were working so much on the other film, and they had other sculptors working on the Critters. And apparently they were kind of, before they can give the final Kyoto stamp on it, some of them were molded just to get things moving. So I think before they were going to approve it.
Right.
Because I personally, I think even if the Critters look just like part 2, what I really don't like about 3 and 4 is I feel like that no one really was trying to make a good movie. They were just trying to make Critter stuff, and it felt like that. It felt like, we've said it before, like you said, a Goosebumps. My son said the same thing.
Yes, it's like a Goosebumps episode. Part 3 is.
Yeah, and they were just shot really bad. Like, I think
they were shot really quick.
Yeah, but bad.
Oh yeah.
They didn't.
Well, they pretty much admitted in the Blu-ray it was almost like a fucking challenge. Like, can we make 2 movies in the time it takes to make 1 movie? It's almost like a coin toss gamble. Like, well, I'll take on that bet. So that was disheartening to hear, but at the same time, it doesn't shock me at all. I love Critters 3 and I love Critters 4, and I actually like the way the Critters look in them. I don't like the way they look more than the first 2 movies, but I was little, like, when those movies came out, and I was into them. So I noticed things like that, but I loved them. I liked that part 4 was actually gory and shit, even though it was fucking boring. And part 3, I was scared of everything as a kid. I think part 3 was the easiest one for me to watch,
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I don't hate them. I know I harass you guys about it, but I don't hate them.
That's just what friends do, buddy.
I was just, as a kid especially, I was really expecting, and I got a little story about why I was so frustrated with those. I kind of went in biased because as a kid, again, the actor thing, I wanted to be an actor. My 2 big things were Critters and any puppets, but I loved the Critters, and I was a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. Massive. And I pretty much looked like either a blonde Ed Furlong or a little Leonardo DiCaprio because I was about that same age, and I could show you pictures. It was ridiculous. I had the same stupid bowl haircut, and that's what it looked like. And so
what a wuss.
I know. It was the 90s, man. What can I tell you? But when those came out,
no excuse.
I know. When those came out, though, I remember looking through the Enquirers like I had always done, and I saw that picture of Leonardo DiCaprio with the Critter on the mop, and my heart was broken. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I probably cried a little bit. I was like, holy shit, a kid, because I used to write my own Critters movies too. I still have a bunch of them somewhere. My mom has. I used to write a lot. She's got a bunch of my old stuff, but
that's awesome.
I was seeing a kid who looked just like me in a Critters movie, and that's what that was my dream. And then the other one was this kid who looked very similar too, being in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. The early 90s crushed me. That's why I moved on to being in a band. I was like, fuck this. I'm growing my hair out. I'm going to...
Holy shit. Leonardo DiCaprio's the reason you kept into music.
Yeah. But no, so anyway, so when I get, though, that how people like the, 3 and 4 just for nostalgic reasons and stuff, and maybe they just like it because they think it's a good movie, and that's fine. I think
Critters 3 is really funny.
To me, it's not, and I just think that it's just bad filmmaking. You have these puppets that, even though they didn't have the visual that I prefer, these things can do a lot of cool stuff, and they were shot. Any puppet's going to look bad, shot wrong, no matter how good it moves.
That's true.
And I feel like you had these puppets that could do great stuff. That I guarantee you, the Kyoto brothers did great stuff. And I think that in the editing room, that people weren't picking the best shots. I don't think they were shot correctly. Personally,
well, they even admitted they weren't really even on set for it too much. Didn't they kind of have some of their people filling in for them or whatnot? Or was that just for part 4?
I'm sure that was the case. I mean, for the commentary and all that, or not the commentary, but the behind the scenes, I'm sure they're going to be. They don't want to hear about all the other people working on the films,
right?
But I would assume that they were pretty busy by then. And you know what? The Killer Clowns is different for them. And even though they love the Critters too, I know they do, especially Charlie for sure. There is a point, no matter what you're working on, no matter how cool it is just something you worked on. It doesn't have the same draft. It's never going to be to them what it is to you or me or something like that.
I get
Critters
it.
5 comes around, they're probably like, oh, go for it. Somebody else take it. Well, you'd be like, no.
Well, you can hear said they're ready to pass off the the critter ball or whatever, however they put it.
Yeah.
To the Blu-ray, though, I will say that I think the most interesting fact that I got out of it, besides the documentary about the original screenwriter, I thought that was really nice. I thought it was neat that terrible scene in Critters 3 at the kitchen scene, I really never liked that, where they're farting and getting beans everywhere in the flour. The story about how they pretty much ruined the fucking puppets to do it, and the Kyoto brothers came in and were like, you ruined the puppets, and they had to clean them for days before they get back on the set. I thought that was an awesome story.
Yeah, well, it seemed like they had that with every movie. The first one, they had the down from the pillows. The second one, they had the meat from the Hungry Heifer or the Polo Burgers.
Oh, yeah, that was great, too. It was all real meat, and they had to come back in a few days later, and it was all stinking. That's awesome, yeah.
Actually, that's pretty funny, because that story gets contradicted by Mick Garris.
Okay.
The Kyoto's on it only because they had to clean it. But, yeah, there's a few contradictions back and forth. But remember, it was so long ago, it's tough to remember, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mick Garris claims that the meat, the patties and stuff was used rice cakes that they just painted up to look like burger patties.
Oh, I'm sure that some of those were, for sure. I think what they're talking about is the big clumps of meat when they were reaching in and sticking the dynamite in that big tub. And some of the patties out there, I'm sure, were real, because that's pretty tough. Sometimes it's easier to use the real stuff than it is to make fake versions. You're not going to use real turds or something in a movie, because obviously real ones would be easier. But with meat,
John Waters would.
John Waters did all about it. Even if he fake turds, he'd be like, everyone's making real turds right now.
I don't know why, but that's the greatest analogy ever.
But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Yeah. So I think they're both kind of right on that, and I think he's also a little bit more. I know he's vegan and stuff, so he probably is, in his mind, he wants to forget about the real meat.
Oh, sure. Bill, have you worked with John Waters? Because you worked on Seed of Chucky, not to get too off topic of Critters here, but did you work with John and hang out with John at all? That'd be cool.
No, when we did Seed of Chucky, we built all the puppets, and there was 2 shops that did the puppets. One of them was Tony Garner. He's the guy at Alterian Effects. He kind of headed up the whole thing, and we were at this shop called Film Illusions. We just built the mechanical stuff. We made the puppets. We made them work. Built all the understructures and did all that. They did the makeup effects. They did the and the skins for the faces and stuff. And then
okay.
Unfortunately, a couple of us were, they were talking to us like, hey, you guys you built them, you get to go. And I was really excited because it was going to be, I think it was in Romania. And that was the main reason I got in this industry, was to do puppets. I wanted to puppet.
Yeah, dude.
But when you get in, you find out really quick it's a SAG job, and it becomes, people are, and it's going away. because you don't use it as much. So a lot of people were really kind of defensive about it, which bummed me out. Because I just wanted to be like, you know, a Henson puppeteer style guy. You know, I just love that kind of stuff. Still do. But anyway,
yeah, man.
So I was excited to go, and they sent a couple guys from Tony's shop, and then the rest were all like locals. So we didn't get to go do that. Very bummed out. And it would have been funny to shake John Waters' hand and then smell my hand afterwards and try to guess what's on.
Yeah, he's cool as shit.
Yeah,
Literally.
I've had a few friends that have met him and said he's great.
That's cool, man.
He's kind of like an even more obscure John Carpenter in a way. Like they have the same vibe.
So let's talk about New Binge a bit.
Real
quick.
One thing I did want to say in defense, just real fast, of the Blu-rays.
Sure.
I actually saved bringing this up to anybody just for this podcast, but one of the reasons that there's not going to be a ton of stuff on there is because Blu-rays are so, like, to put the stuff on there, it's really massive files.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true or not, because I got a lot more pictures from Charlie that he sent to them. I have like probably 80 pictures or something from him that were supposed to go on there that didn't even go on the stills. I think what it is, though, is that they were not going to go as far as doing double discs for any of these. We're lucky we got what we did. And I think
I agree.
More on, because they had multiple commentaries behind the scenes, all this stuff. Maybe 3 and 4 could have added a little extra because those weren't as big of DVDs, but I think really what it was is there was no room really on the discs. So that's why I don't think about as much as.
That's a good defense. I'd accept it, honestly, because I know how that shit goes, and there's no way they were going to put a fucking 4K box set out. But I will say, when watching it, I just kind of had this feeling of like, well, this is what we should have got on the DVDs all along. The Blu-ray should have been 10 times more. That's just.
I feel a little bit better now that you said that, because I was getting a little nitpicky with it. Because all the behind-the-scenes footage they got, or not behind-the-scenes footage, but some of it for part 2, and then the teaser trailers, the teaser trailers and everything, they pulled from the Critters Rehatched YouTube page that I run.
I mean, a good percentage of that would not have been on the Blu-ray if Chris wasn't an obsessive hoarder of Critters information all these years. I think that's kind of awesome, though.
But I was just wondering, though, I was like, why take here and there and not take all of them? Because I had I had like maybe 7 or 8 different TV spots for the first 2 movies, and they only used like 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I don't even think they used the best footage that you had up on YouTube of behind the scenes of Critters 2, man.
No, they didn't. That one that you had that I saw, that I think you said something about, like, was it Fangoria posted or something? It's about 3 or 4 minutes. It's where I think the second unit director is kind of bitching at one of the puppeteers because he didn't make the critter die fast enough.
Yeah.
Like that, when I didn't watch that for a little while because I was like, oh, I've seen that already. And then I watched it actually kind of recently, and I was like, damn, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a couple minutes, but that was good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Screen Factory guys, though, they're more able guys just like us. That's really all it is, because no one wants these DVDs as Blu-rays with all the behind the scenes, except for really a small group that makes them. I mean,
we are a very niche market.
I've been getting harassed for loving Critters forever.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, people love them and all.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I'm just really glad that we did get what we did. Aside from the cover art not being as cool as I'd like, I complain about these DVDs. I'm still hoping to talk to Charlie, and I've been working on this for years. I even bought him all the gear to break the stuff down. I'm still trying to get access to the footage and put something together for him to possibly put out. He's got a couple other really cool Critters 2 things that I'm hoping he puts together and gets out there. I've been really trying to press him for himself, not that I'd be involved in.
Right. I appreciate your passion, man.
Yes.
It's awesome.
And he's smiling when he tells you the stories. It's cool. All of them do. So they appreciate the fandom that they have for all this kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, perfect segue to the new binge.
All right, let's talk about the fucking new binge. So, as everyone who is probably listening to this knows, Chris, came across the pictures from a new binge, like 8 pictures maybe or so.
Mm-hmm.
got him up on the fucking page, and I don't know, in a few days, Bloody Disgusting shared it, actually gave us credit, and now the damn group, how many members have we gotten in a week, Chris? Like 800 or some shit?
Close to that. We started off with around 600 members, and we're well over 1,100 and some.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And honestly, this is like the best promotion that it's got. I think this is the best promotion that the Blu-ray has even gotten, because I don't think the Blu-ray got promoted for shit.
Well, the reason I got these photos was everybody kept posting and sharing stuff about the Critters being filmed in Africa or South Africa in January, and everybody was claiming that the Critters A New Binge was dead in the water and it was not going to happen, even though that me and Sean had just gotten notification from the director saying, "Oh, expect the release in March." So I started going through and trying to figure out, what can I do to get something like from the director to verify this besides just a text. And I found somebody who worked on New Binge for the makeup department, and I just asked, I said, "Do you have any pictures or anything that you can show that shows that the filming is done?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, let me get back with you." And he sent me those photos and said, feel free to share these in your group. And I had no idea that they were going to expand the way that they did.
Oh my God, that's amazing, dude. We probably just got that guy in a lot of trouble.
Well, he messaged me like 3 days later, and he was like, "Hey, just to let you know that this thing's gotten way out of hand. Can you please take those down?" And I was like,
late, dude. Oh my God,
I told him, I was like, I didn't know it would go this big either. I'm sorry. I was like, but it's been shared over 2,000 times on my page. There's nothing I can really do, but I'll take it down if you want. And then moments before I was going to take it down, I get a notification from Twitter that Jordan Rubin, the director, had retweeted the post of all the pictures. So I was like, well, if he's tweeting it himself, then obviously it's okay to be up.
Yeah. Well, it's the best fucking promotion it's going to get, man. Jeez.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's
we're doing them such a favor. I mean, I'm really proud of us, honestly.
Yeah, and you guys know I'm not overly excited about it. I don't think it's going to be that great personally. And I'm still super coming out. I'm super happy that of the way, especially how once I saw those pictures. See, I did get a little access early, not from them, but just from other people. I have seen some stuff from it before all this. But you can even, every time I've talked to Sean, I say the same thing every single time. I'd prefer a phone conversation. If I'm going to give you a little bit of information, don't tell anyone. Don't post anything. I mean, even with my own sculptures I'm doing, I don't like that.
Right.
It's because in this business, you sign more NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, than you work on shows. It's kind of your word to keep things quiet is a big deal. And I can understand the makeup guy getting a little frustrated and going like, oh, shit. But at the end of the day, for something like Critters Rehash, listen, Critters is kind of been dead for, 20-something years.
Yes.
So for it to come out, no matter what it is, people are going to be excited to see it, and any promotion is good promotion. It needs it, and whether it's the worst thing anyone's ever seen or the best thing anyone's ever seen, it's never going to be seen unless people are getting stuff out there, because even being done doesn't do enough. It needs to have somewhat of that's how everything gets sold these days. You already have to have a fan base. Yeah,
there was people that were commenting and posting that those pictures that I shared saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know this even happened. I was just seeing that the new movie was being made in January. Is it already filmed?" So we had to correct them and tell them, "No, this is completely different. This has already been filmed. There's another one expected to come out in January." So nobody even really knew about it until we shared those photos.
Exactly. It was just the group knew about it. That's it.
Well, even when it comes to the Blu-rays, about like you were saying, they didn't get in much advertising. I mean, of course I did, and knew you guys did. I look every couple months. I'd be like Critters Bluray, hoping that some random guy in Japan or something had a Blu-ray copy and I can get it.
Yeah, I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, me too. So, of course we're going to end up finding out about it, but the majority of people did not know that it was coming out.
Exactly.
Big in our underground little communities in horror in general, depending on what they put out.
Right.
A couple other good ones. But it's having things like Critters Rehashed. It's having things like just that, even just the hashtag Critters or whatever on Instagram. I still get, because I follow the hashtag Critters thing, and I mean most of it's random like animals and some
hashtag Critters 3 is the one that actually brings up Critters. That's the one I follow.
I do.
FYI for you there.
People are still like, wow, look, I can't believe this just came out, and you're like, damn, most of us are like just chewing our fingernails down, waiting 6 months for this to come out, and some people are just finding out about it now who seem to be big fans. It needs it, and New Binge needs this, and I support New Binge regardless of my apprehensions of the way it looks and stuff like that. And even those pictures that you guys did post look better than the little bit of stuff that I had seen. It's the same stuff, but better quality photos in the light and things like that. But,
right.
It, even for me, someone who already is like, not the way I'd go with it, I'm not really looking forward to this approach, I was still excited to see him. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Critters. My favorite part about the Blu-ray was when Lee and Curtis said that the boys who are into this movie are grown men who are, channeling their inner child when they watch these movies, and that really resonated with me when she said that. So I can't imagine that you wouldn't be slightly excited, because at the end of the day, you've obsessed over Critters so long. It's just like, more Critters? I have to care,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I have to give it a chance, is what I always say. Like,
right.
Even 3 and 4, I'll go back and still watch. I watched the commentaries, which, not to keep going back and forth, I was pretty disappointed in Part 4's commentary. It was like 2 minutes of talking about the movie and more talking about all the other stuff. But anyway, I still go back to that. What I did say on the forum a little bit with somebody about this, and I talked to Sean a little bit about it too, is the reason I'm not, when you put the stamp of approval that this is the new Critters, the reason I'm more critical about it, and especially when they kind of go a more cheesy route, and maybe it'll be great, maybe everything lines itself perfectly, I don't know. But people are like, oh no, this is helping the franchise, it's helping this, it's like, I actually think the opposite. I think some of the things that hurt the franchise the most was how 3 and 4 were shot, not the Critters themselves at all, but how they were shot. And I also think even Fangoria's puppets that they put out, when they put those puppets out, I didn't even want one as a kid. I was like, my mom made me a better hand puppet when I was a kid than I really.
Oh, you told me about that, yeah.
And those, to me, when people are so accepting of lesser quality of stuff like that, it doesn't set a standard for wanting more. I'm not saying Critters would have ever gotten better anyway, but still, it does. I mean, look at movies nowadays. They're going to keep making Transformers movies. Not right. Good, but if you argue with someone, they'll be like, well, what else is out? Well, you hate everything. But no, you can't just
something I was thinking yesterday, because I was like, why would somebody, alter this franchise so much? And the thing is, let's take the new Halloween movie, for example. They were paying attention to the fan base on, like, forum comments on Facebook so hard that it almost helped write the fucking movie. It's like the fans gave it direction. They're like, no, we want the fucking artsy shots and all that, even though the movie still isn't perfect.
It actually changed some of that stuff. Because a couple of my good friends are the ones who did the effects and did they created the mask, and I'm not good friends, but I know Chris Nelson, the guy who headed that up, and Kevin Wasner. I heard about it a little bit from some of them, but also from other forums, that actually the script and a lot of things are changed from them paying attention to the fan base.
Exactly. And with Critters, I mean, there is a fan base to pay attention to if the guy really wanted to, but even I can't blame him for not listening to 8 people who post in our fucking group, which is what the group has mostly been for years. Yeah. It's just like 8 to 10 people who really post a lot. Also, because it is such a small fan base, this guy can alter Critters. New people can see it, or people who haven't watched him in 30 years who really just are like, yeah, Critters. And they probably will enjoy it. They'll accept all these changes and whatnot. So I don't think the guy's really keeping in mind of, like, our approval and whatnot. And I'm sure who's the guy who's making this, Jordan Rubin? I'm sure he's a fan. But obviously, like, the big thing I want to focus in here on is the the crossbreed human Crite thing. Like, that is something that never would have existed, in my opinion, in the original Critters universe.
Yeah.
So to put that in, I don't like it. Do you guys like it?
No.
No, Chris?
I don't like it either. I've actually talked with somebody who's pretty close to the franchise, and I can't say who, but they've given me a little bit more details about it, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
say
the plot sounds terrible.
Yeah. My thing is with Jordan Rubin, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, he's the yeah.
Aside, you can listen to fans, sure, you can whatever. But at this point, you do need to do your own thing. You need to just kind of go off because Critters.
You're right.
Done. And I think that's cool. My only issue, besides the human hybrid thing, which I can't confirm for sure, but
Okay.
I've also heard it is. I pretty much have heard it's pretty much a. I heard about that a while ago. Let's just say that I heard about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I wouldn't talk to you about earlier when I said I knew some stuff. And there's also a few other things I heard that's going on in it. And some of that I've mentioned to you on, I think, in an email or something that I'm not overly sure about. But that's
Me
fine.
neither.
I'll even take the Critter hybrid over. My thing is the look of the Critters. I have a big issue with it. And it's not because they're different. Everyone, like, I was getting a little harassment for that, going, you have to just love them for what they are.
Paul Clemens, you bully.
I've heard it from other people too, and no, Paul, I listen, I don't know who he is, but that was fun. We were just having some fun back and forth. You can't take a little bit and go
just
join
internet
movements for social recreational outrage or whatever. My thing is, to me, they're not a new design. They're, in my opinion, a bad execution of what the Kyotos did. Now it's not.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I've seen like 50 designs from Charlie. I'm not even kidding. I've even seen some very new ones that he's shown me because they were considering. I don't know if it was the one that was going to be done in South Africa because that is. I'm not sure if they're using the New Binge stuff and continuing that, or I know it's its own movie, but they may be using the same guys because I know there's some guys in Canada that were involved with some of it.
Okay.
So they might be doing that. So my thing was, there's a million ways to make, technically you want to make them more anatomically correct. There's a lot of ways. Put the face forward. Do a million different things. They're not anatomically making any sense. Hell, they couldn't even hold one. How do they get 50 eggs? The egg is...
No, I don't like the way the new Critters look. Chris, do you like the way the new Critters look, honestly?
I don't think anything's going to look, if they're not the Kyoto Brothers sculpt, I don't think they're going to look as good to me. But, I like the Critter ball.
That.
I think the Critter ball in that photo looks better with those faces than what the actual puppets in those other pictures look.
Ooh,
Shane, I like the one with the goggles. There I said it.
Yeah, I think you guys are cutting out. I think I got to get out of here. No, it's go. You guys, it's all. I personally that's not my thing. Again, it's just, I am cool with it not being the Kyoto's design, but I feel it's bad. You know what it looks like? I've seen some fun fan art that is fun. You look at it, because fan art's the best because it could be something very similar but its own. There's a lot of really bad stuff out there, too, where you look at it and you're like, come on, man, you're like that. And because people can love some turds, let's just say. But there's some really fun things that aren't technically good if you want to break it down, like artistically, but they're fun. And fan art's the best place for that, in my opinion.
Sure.
These look like a couple fan art pictures that looked fun, but
yeah, I'll give you that, buddy.
Yeah, I think me and Sean have said this before. Is it looks and feels like it's a fan film.
Yeah, it does. All I'm hoping for from Critters A New Binge, honestly, all I'm hoping for are some good critter gags. I expect the plot to suck. I don't think I'm going to like certain aspects of it. But if they have good critter gags, where they're getting hurt, or they have the catapult there, it looks like they're going to catapult each other. As long as it's got those cute elements and it's funny, and the bounty hunters are blowing shit the fuck up, and that's funny, and people's reactions to it are thrown off, I think I'll be happy with it, honestly. I don't have expectations, really.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think with me, too, it's I brought this up to you, Sean, recently. Like, when they did, when I heard that 21 Jump Street was getting made. I'm like, come on. First of all, that barely passed in the 80s. Now you're going to remake this terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. You're getting, I'm a big fan of Jonah Hill as being funny. Some of his stuff, he's really funny, but I was like, I don't see him taking a movie like this. It's not going to be funny. Channing Tatum, come on. He's not going to be funny.
No,
I will tell you right now, that has every bit just asking to be unwatchably bad. And it's great. I mean, I can watch that movie a million times over. It is one of the funniest things. It was executed perfectly.
I
for
agree.
What they were trying to do.
Yeah, both of them.
Movie could do that for sure. So I'm more than happy to be wrong. As a Critters movie, I'm just like, sorry, you're taking me out of it really bad, guys. I don't like the look that much. They're fun, but as a film, this isn't. I don't think that. I don't want the franchise to go fan film style. I want the franchise to do something cool. Maybe the Leprechaun guys are going to do something cool. Who knows? But
I liked that new Leprechaun movie. Actually, I watched it twice. That's how much I liked it.
I actually was planning on watching it the next couple of days. I have not seen it, but I've heard actually quite a few people say for sci-fi, they actually are trying to change it up.
Oh, dude, for sci-fi, this is like a masterpiece. If we're viewing it from that lens.
But that needs to. The sci-fi has a lot of properties and they have a lot of things, and they do mostly the things are unwatchably bad. Frankenfish and all this stuff, and they have the potential to do something cool. Just because they've done a lot of turds in the past doesn't mean that something really can't come out of it.
Yeah, when I haven't even
the Tremors TV series I kind of liked. You know, it was 50-50. When it was good, it was good.
Yeah, I'm bummed out not going forward with the one with Kevin Bacon. They're doing another Tremors film, 2 more. But they won't push that.
Yeah.
The trailer looked great.
Well, apparently the one with Kevin Bacon, even though I really liked that trailer that ended up getting leaked, quote unquote, apparently the movie was more about him being like an alcoholic and stuff and not really about the monsters and shit.
Well, you could see that for a pilot. I mean, because you got to think they're going for the long haul, and how long can you really fight the monsters? But you had Vince, I forget his name, and oh man, the guy who did Cube. I worked with them on Westworld.
Vint Natelli or something like that.
Yeah, Vincenzo Metelli or something like that. I feel bad because I don't know his name when I should. He was directing it. I heard that the trailer looked great. Anyway, not to get away from that. It's just that there's potential for stuff that hopefully they do good. Like I said, I don't like the idea of it being fan film. I just don't like that. But then again, it's not up to me. And if this guy gets a chance to do it, and this is how he sees it, the way I look at it is, if I do it, let's just say everyone's like, oh, because people keep saying, why didn't you design the Critters? Why didn't you do this? Well, first of all, the one I did not design. The one I did, I just tried to make look as best close as
like the Kyoto.
The Kyotos did. So I basically was not doing anything but making hopefully a good version of theirs. But if I made it, and I can look at myself, I mean, we all do. We all think we're the self-appointed biggest Critters fan. I am, guys. Like you guys think that, right?
Right, yeah, I'm pretty cool.
Best Critters movie. Chris, you're going to make the best Critters movie. Your scripts are the best. No one's going to do better than you. No one's going to do better than me. That's how everyone in some way will think when they're doing something that's dear to them. So if I make mine, there's going to be plenty of people that are going to rip on it. Same thing with you guys.
Right.
As much as I'm kind of giving it some shit, you know, good for the guy for getting damn Critters movie. He's a dork just like the rest of us. He's making some fun shit, and I guarantee
that's right. I will never talk shit on this guy because I feel he is one of us.
No, again, he can make the biggest turd. I've worked on some of the worst. I worked on a movie called Trees 2, dude. The Root of All Evil.
Was it awesome?
Oh, man.
The Root of All Evil, did you say?
And there's a sequel.
Yeah, that kicks ass. The Root of All Evil. That's such a good tagline. Oh, my God.
It's about a great white pine tree. But anyway, that was something I was
well, I know that I'm speaking out.
I didn't go on
Tree
that,
2.
but I had fun. And you know what? I've worked on some really terrible films that I've had so much fun on. I've worked on really huge, cool movies that I did not have fun on. I guarantee by the pictures that I saw that you guys posted, that I don't care if they are literally rolled in, you know, John Waters' turds themselves, those guys had a blast making that movie. And that's something that I'm hoping shows through in in what we see. That's something I'm really excited about. That's, in fact, the only thing I'm excited about. I'm not excited
me and Sean did an interview with Sean Owen Roberts, who was one of the actors in the film, and he said that they had a blast on set. That everybody was like getting along, laughing and joking around and stuff throughout the whole shoot.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
you can even see in those pictures. It looks like they're probably having a good time.
Yeah, that's all. That's going to be something that's going to that will set it apart from people just making a shit movie, because it's really easy that you have all the right parts to. They can have the original Critters. They can have, Leonardo DiCaprio come back. They can have Dee Wallace back in it, and it's most likely if they did that right now, got the Kyoto brothers, Leo, all the right people, there's a good chance that any new Critters movie you're going to make, it's not going to be very good. At best, you're going to be like, well,
I agree.
3 and 4, or maybe you'll be like, I don't even like it as much as that. So I'm not, that's what I mean. I'm not trying to shred these guys, and I know I might that when I say it, to me, is like a really bad, but they look bad to me. I'm excited to see what heart and soul kind of goes through.
I think what's kind of cool, man, is that we're getting this Critters New Binge, which to me looks very fun, very lighthearted. And then we have Sci-Fi making another one. I hope that they're almost nothing alike. I hope Sci-Fi goes dark. I would like to see Critters almost go darker than it was in part 1 and 2, which I think part 1 and 2 are honestly kind of lighthearted. I would like to see them go for that R element. So I think it would be cool if in 1 year we get almost like the official fan-made film, and then almost like the official Critters, what we would expect we'd see, like an updated version where it's not lighthearted and these creatures are really fucking badass. I don't know what you guys think on that, but
I know, I completely agree. I always wish that was one of the biggest problems I had with 3, and even 4. I know people say it's dark and all. I just think I really don't like that one. But
that's understandable.
But I just mean because it's not like that. It's just I know they went on a darker side and tried to take some of the lightheartedness out, but it wasn't scary at all. I thought that they had at least part 3, it was a joke the whole time. I mean, the way every bit of it was a joke, and that's more acceptable to me when you know where you're at, even though much. I appreciate that. Part 4 was like, let's be dark, let's be creepy, and then out of the blue, you get the Critters, and they're basically, they're slapping high fives, and their arms are flailing around, and
that movie does rule.
It just goes back and forth, though. It's fun in the cheesy way, but it's not like I would like to see part 1, like you said. Part 1 is a cutting on PG-13 R rating. I love part 1. I think all around it's great. I'm sure you've read the script by now. It's fun even to read the script, see this stuff, and I hope that they go that route for the Sci-Fi, because Sci-Fi, I think if they're going to have any chance at getting back, which is what they're doing, they're picking up properties now, real properties, not just taking Frankenstein and fishing it. And if they do good with Leprechaun, which I haven't seen yet, and come on, Leprechaun is toast. That's been shit forever. It's fun to watch, Leprechaun in the Hood, but it's been gone.
We all love them, but yeah.
Bring it back. If you could bring something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't even seen.
Watchable, great.
I haven't even seen the new Leprechaun film, but I did see the trailer to it, and that looked a lot of fun. So when I heard that there's a possibility of the people that did the Leprechaun to be a part of the new Critters franchise, I was like, you bring it on. They could probably do something really fun and really good, and they're probably going to get back to the original aspect of the franchise, too.
Right. Because I'm sure when all 3 of us picture when we're saying, like, we want a dark Critters, we're not, we're picturing something completely different for part 4, obviously. And I think if the people, I did see the new Leprechaun, if they get a hold of Critters, I would be fucking stoked, man. Because the new Leprechaun, you can tell, is made by people who really love the first movie. They didn't fucking care about the sequels. And even I don't really care about the Leprechaun sequels. And they brought back, who's the fat guy that's slow in the first movie? I'm sorry. Ozzy. And just bringing back that one character, they made him work so well. Honestly, he makes the movie more than the Leprechaun.
I watched Leprechaun as a kid. I wasn't like a huge fan, but of course I still liked it. I like to see it because if they're doing anything like you're talking, if you're excited, I know we have difference of opinions about movies and stuff, but if the way you're talking, if you're excited for it, there's only a couple things I hope that they really don't put in, that we know a New Binge is doing, that I'm not cool with, but they're going to do it, and hopefully I'll give them the chance to do it right. They talk too much, like part 3 and definitely 3. They don't need to talk so much. Part 1 is the perfect way to talk. A little bit in part 2. It's just here and there you hear them going back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's going to be a critter that speaks English in this one. Personally, I would not be surprised in the least bit.
Yeah. Well, let's just say you're probably right on that in New Binge. But anyway, moving on. I didn't say anything. In the new one, though, in the sci-fi one, I hope that they go a little bit more like a couple little slangs here and there, a little bit back and forth, but there's not like this big critter. I mean, they did it good when they had Brad's room scene, which was fun. They did it at the Hungry Heifer, but I thought when they went to 3 and even part 4 when they were playing around with all the pills and all that stuff, it just
right.
If they go that far and they get it, I think that they're not going to have the great design. From what I heard, they did not have much time to do it, and again, the critters were talked to, but didn't do it. I hope they look decent, not cartoony, which like the New Binge, and don't talk.
Besides, I know you don't like 3 and 4 too much, but do you like the aspect in 3 of one like getting the bleach face and one standing out? Because I always liked that aspect as a kid, especially. And if they were to make, I know they're doing that obviously with New Binge, but if they were to make a dark one, I would still almost like there to be one that is just distinguished from the rest. I've always liked that element in creature features where there's multiples of the creature. I know it's kind of like a cliche at this point, but I still like it.
I'm a bit on the opposite side of that. I actually, for Gremlins, it worked a little more because Gremlins were automatically cheesy fun.
Sure.
You kind of needed that. There was a story almost. It was like almost part of the arc in that story with the Gremlins and things from being a Mogwai growing up.
It wouldn't work without it. Yeah.
You kind of needed the one standing out, and then you had the opposite with a Gizmo. And then, obviously, which I think Critters look way better than the original Gremlins. Gremlins are cool design-wise, but I thought they didn't look as good. But part 2, holy shit, took it to another level with that. But they also...
Gremlins, in some ways, Gremlins 2 is superior.
Oh, it's way superior design. Because Rick actually took, in a way, he made those way better. He didn't redesign, per se. Obviously, he did some because...
There's a good fucking example of when you're saying someone takes the design and does their own thing with it instead of just trying to imitating it and failing. Rick Parker is probably the best fucking example that I can think of when it comes to that.
Rick Baker, the greatest.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Rick Parker did the Beavis and Butthead comics. I'm sorry.
All good. But here's the thing. You give anything to Rick Baker. I won't just give Rick credit for this. Rick's a great dude. The guys who work for him and the guys who work for the Kyotos and everyone, I am extremely lucky to be in the industry that I'm in because I work around some amazing people, and a lot of the guys from Gremlins 2 are very close friends of mine. A lot of people from Critters 2 are close friends of mine too. And I mean, I know guys from The Thing. I know guys from all these movies, and they tell me these great stories. It's so cool to be part of it. And there were a lot of people that were not just Rick that did a lot of those designs and did stuff too. And it was such a cool collaboration of fun artists doing fun stuff. And yeah, Gremlins 2 really, that's in my opinion where things should go. Obviously they had a budget. That's a completely different aspect. Yeah. That movie spent, I remember right, it was over a year building that stuff.
Yeah. Will a creature feature ever get that much budget or attention again? I almost doubt it.
No, but hey, you know what? World War Z, as shit as that was, and as straight as it was from the source material, that was one of the biggest horror films. I mean, that had like $100-something million. I know it had Brad Pitt connected, but there's always that potential it can come back. And there is a little resurgence with practical effects. So it's not as much as I'd like, but there's definitely more stuff going on. I mean, I work a lot, and it's great. My friends work a lot, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening. It's cool that we're finally more integrating with CGI more than ever before, to where it's not quite so, black and white, like it's one or the other.
Forefront,
I just hope, and it's one of my biggest fears, I just hope that they don't release Critters A New Binge, and then everybody criticized the look of the puppets so bad, or nobody likes them that well, and then the next time they make one, they're going to be like, well, we tried to do practical effects last time and it didn't work. Let's just use CG this time.
Yeah, there could be a backlash. You're right.
You know what, though? I don't see that, because that's a design element that would have been an issue. I don't think that. I mean, it's possible, but at the same time, let's just say they did a CG Critters movie that came out, but the Critters look bitchin'. I wouldn't be as opposed to it. And listen, I live off of people not going to CG all the time. If they go, I'm fucked. So,
right.
But I'm still all about I just look at it this way.
You want quality, man.
Best? At the end of the day, I'm a fan of good filmmaking, and I know I talked about loving Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and Critters movies, but
you're obviously not a fan then.
Yeah, no, but I do. I mean, I have my guilty pleasures. I mean, Bad Taste is one of my favorite films of all time.
Oh, yeah.
But but I do really like good filmmaking, and I don't care about spectacle. I mean, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the superhero movies and things, and they're technically amazing in so many ways.
Yeah, I don't get it either, though, buddy.
But if you have these new movies, if the Critters comes out and it's done right, I don't care how you do it. That's kind of my thing. I don't think that Critters New Binge I don't think it's necessarily good for the franchise in some ways, but I think it's excellent for the franchise in other ways. One is getting out there. Two is, if it's not going to be good, let it be fun. And I feel bad saying that. I have no right to say this. I'm not making this film, and I wasn't there. But if it isn't going to be this really awesome Critters movie, let it be fun. If it's fun,
I think,
it's a home run.
I think that all three of us agree on that one.
Yeah.
So if it goes CG, hey, at least it's another Critters movie. Everyone keeps giving me shit for not liking the puppets, but at least you're getting the Critters. Well, I look at the same thing with the CG one. But
that's right. I almost think if New Binge is anything, it could be just a stepping stone towards something even better for the franchise. Let's just hope. Maybe someone will come out and make something learning from the mistakes of New Binge and give us something that we would really, really want to watch over and over again for the rest of our remaining lives, like we had with these 4 fucking movies.
Yeah. And, I gave up on Critters a long time ago as far as there ever being anything new coming out. And when I saw it before, I was never, since I wasn't a big fan, I was like, I have my 1 and 2. That's all I need. I'm good. And I feel like it doesn't make me less of a fan because I don't like everything Critters.
I don't either.
I don't like Slayer, dude. I've seen Slayer, no joke, like 40 times. That's not even exaggeration. I've seen those guys since like 92, and one of the big, I can play almost any of their songs. I'm diehard Slayer fan. I got tattoos of Slayer and Sepultura and shit, right?
What a dork.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, when Slayer comes out with something I don't like, which the last few albums I'm not a fan of, I don't like it. It's just the simple way. I'm not a big fan of the last few Slayer albums. I don't like the Sepultura that came after Max left. I'm not a big fan of all the newer Soulfly stuff. But I'll tell you this, I'll go see Slayer and Sepultura and Soulfly anytime they're in town.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean? So
plenty of bands, I only like their first album. Slipknot, good example, came out when I was like 12 or whatever. I really only still like that first album, but to this day, I still pay attention to them because it captivated me at the right time, I get it.
The opposite for me. I hated them when they first came out because I was such into this, like, really good, I thought metal, which I do still believe mid-90s had, like, it was the end when you had Pantera, Sepultura, Slayer, it kind of cut it up there. And then when you get, and then out of the blue, when Slipknot came, did not like them at all. I've seen them a few times at different, I saw one of their first, like, big shows and stuff, and I was like, these guys are ripping off Mushroom Head, because I lived in...
I'm a big Mushroom Head fan. I know what you mean. Okay.
One of my best friend's sister used to date the singer of that band. When I was, I think, 15 or 16, I moved to Cleveland, and we saw them a couple of times in there, because they were like pretty sure they were a Cleveland band.
Yeah, they are. I've went and seen their Halloween show and everything.
They were always dressing up and doing stuff. So when Slipknot came out, it was like, fuck these guys. I don't need to see rap rock. And then I really didn't like them for a long time. And then I got to say, though, I did go back after a few years, and now I listen to a lot of Slipknot. I think a lot of this stuff is, now that I took that was when I was younger and more elitist, this stuff. Like,
yeah. Every metal fan has their elitist phase.
And so, but now I really love them. Not to go off on that now, because I'm sure.
Well, that's okay. You'll love what I'm getting in the mail tomorrow, buddy. I'm actually getting a big Slipknot item. You're gonna think it's pretty cool. But back to some Critters.
Oh, I did make some masks, by the way, for the band.
Who did?
Yeah, I did. I worked.
You did? No fucking way.
Well, I mean, I didn't design them or nothing, but Screaming Mad George, right before he stopped doing them, and he passed them off to Ralis Khan, who's an awesome artist, and I think Pat McGee might have done some stuff too, but Ralis and Pat and a couple other guys, a couple of these effects guys kind of took over Screaming Mad George's stuff, but the very end of Screaming Mad George, he hired me to do some, and that's before I saw any of their faces. They were like, the internet was pretty new, and
Sure. So are you talking about the Iowa era?
Probably before. I think it was their first album came out, 99 or 2000? Sorry, Chris.
99, so, and then Iowa would be 2001.
Then it would have been Iowa then. And I remember...
Holy shit, that's beautiful. Wow.
I saw 3 or 4 of their live casts, maybe 5 of them, and I was like, these goofy-looking sons of bitches, because I wanted to be I played in the band for a long time, and that was...
Yeah.
Damn, this one... But anyway, yeah, we went off a little bit there. But,
that's all right.
Yeah, I did get work a little of their stuff, which is cool. It was fun.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, dude, I mean, I know that you appreciate it and you're aware of it, but I mean, when I first started talking to you, it was like I was talking to this guy that lived out a childhood dream of mine, meeting the Kyotos, getting those molds, becoming the special effects artist, all the accomplishments you've done. And then, putting out pretty much the ultimate Critter. It's the Kyoto's design, but you still were the man that made that a reality. And everybody in the Critters, fandom, I think really admires you and appreciates you. I want you to know that.
Well, listen, guys, I really do appreciate that. I'm terrible at compliments anyway, but I got to say that I'm no different than anybody else. I just happen to work my way into a situation that
that's what makes it that much more relatable and awesome to us, man.
I am you guys. There's no difference except for my, how I look at 3 and 4. Other than that, we're pretty much the same guys. I'm not always. Oh
yeah, dude. We're Critters brothers, man.
Picture, yeah. I couldn't leave that picture without giving you shit about 3 and 4. But I'm good at what I do. I think I'm not great. I definitely can. I'm a professional. I get to do what I do, and blah blah blah. But I do get to work with amazing artists. That's something that I'm just super privileged about. So as much as you guys might be going, wow, that's so cool. We admire what you're doing. That's all I'm doing all day, every day. I work with some of the coolest people I've ever met. Some of the best artists in the world. I mean, dude, I'm friends with the guy who created Predator, Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, the Gillman from Monster Squad.
Oh, my God.
Guys who are on the thing. This is something that it's not a me thing. I'm a squid. I love this stuff, and right. By being around them, it makes me. One of my friends, I'm going to plug him really quick. Mike Hill is my brother. If you look up his stuff, anybody out here should look up his stuff. He's one of the greatest artists ever, and I don't even I could care less about his art in all honesty, simply because he's my brother. He's Mike Hill to me. He's my bro. But I forget sometimes, and I'm around guys like him who do ungodly realistic stuff. And since I'm around watching him sculpt he sculpts a likeness dead on in a couple hours sometimes. Now, it's not finished. It takes him weeks sometimes to finish, but you know exactly who he's doing in moments. Into a 3-line sketch of you, and you know it's you. I have these guys around me, so that's one of the reasons that I was extra particular, besides just my fandom of the Critters, is that something that, if I'm going to show this stuff, these are the guys I work with every day. So,
right.
This is not a me thing. This is literally me.
No.
I'm so fucking lucky and privileged to get to do this. The guy who he's one of my best friends, man. Kevin Kirkpatrick is fucking awesome. I work with him.
Yeah, dude. You'll said I'll get to meet him probably, right?
You know what? If there's a good chance that we'll be doing a show coming up pretty soon together, and if not, as long as he's in town, we'll definitely have some beers if you show up. Kevin is.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm definitely coming out. I wish Chris would man up and like stop taking care of his family and come out with me.
Pop rock is 10 cents a pop, man, and you can live at least a couple months.
I am working on it. I talked to my wife and everything. She has a full-time job as a nurse, so she can't really call off too much. And obviously my 2-year-old daughter is really difficult to bring along on travel. Yeah. But we are working on trying to figure out a way to get down there.
For people listening, there's a Monsterpalooza event happening in April, is it?
Yeah, I think it's April 14th to the 16th.
Yes. So if you go, I'm going to definitely be there. Chris Hampton's definitely going to be there. Chris Lax is hopefully going to be there. And there's going to be a big display. I mean, it's from the sounds of it, it's going to be the best thing a Critters fan could ever see with their own eyes.
That's my plan. That's what I'm really trying to do, and I'm hoping that I can meet everybody's expectations on it and stuff. So I'm doing a part 1 coming up soon. I have the baby. I got eggs. I got 2 different part 2s. I'm planning like a nice display. It's for the Kyotos. I think it's going to go in the museum, hopefully, because lit a little bit better, and those guys have their booth dedicated to their production company, but it's for them.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you guys come out. I mean, I live in Grover's Bend, fellas. I literally live 5 minutes away from Grover's Bend. And
so we're going to go scout it. We're going to look at the locations. I mean, this is honestly going to be like the best week of my fucking life. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. And I'm really hoping, too, that another big blocker is it's also me and my wife's anniversary in April. So...
leave her.
You guys love each other.
So sorry.
There'll always be more. Come on, man.
Critters were here first.
I mean, Critters was around before you guys were married. I'm just saying.
That's true, man. When was she even born? No, I'm sorry.
I actually do want to say this, guys, and I probably think that both Sean, you, and Chris are like this as well. But from where Critters was a big part of my life ever since like I was old enough to even know what films were, and it got me into watching movies and wanting to try to make movies myself. And it was something that I felt for the longest time that I was only the fan of Critters like ever existed. Like I didn't know anybody else that liked these movies or had really seen these movies. And so Critters isn't necessarily like, I don't consider myself like the fan of Critters. It's like a part of me. It's part of my life.
Right.
And it's like Critters is mine. Do you guys feel that way too?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
glad that I've found a small community to share it with, but absolutely, it's always been mine. Same with Beavis and Butthead is for me. I meet Beavis and Butthead fans every day. It's definitely more popular than Critters. But no matter who I meet, it just feels like it's mine. And Critters has always felt that way with me. I remember the first time we did a podcast together, Chris. You can listen to that podcast back, and you can just hear 2 people who have been holding all this in for decades finally getting to talk to someone else who's like on the level. And it's like the nerdiest podcast in the world, that first episode.
You guys are talking to me. Believe me, if you guys are talking to me, it's a nerdy podcast.
This is our best episode we've done, and we've talked to some people in the movies and shit. But this has been a really great episode.
Well, it's cool because I've been talking to you for a little while, Sean. I know me and Chris have gone back and forth on a couple things, but really, besides that, I can gab away anyway, especially about this shit. I mean, I think we were on like a 3-hour conversation one time, and you were...
Yeah, I had to like go to work or something.
Yeah, I mean, we just go, I'm like, it'll be 5 minutes. The next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh shit, man, I think you're late for work already. But
yeah.
I mean, that's how I am now. Like, there's even been some stuff that I haven't necessarily said or even want to talk about, so I wasn't rehashing it too much. So yeah, I'm a gabbing machine about this stuff, and really I'm holding back what I just want to keep going to town, just because there's always a little jealousy when I see cool Critters things and all that, not in a mean way, but like you said, it's yours. There's something about it. You're like,
yeah, it's
great. And I love that there's other people out there. And to be totally honest, I know a lot of people think, oh, you have this, better than everyone because you did the really cool Critter or because you work in, no. I love seeing bad and good. I just love seeing Critter stuff, in all honesty. I have my particulars, and I have my, hey, if you're putting the stamp of Critters on that, it better, I mean, hell, in my opinion, if the stamp of Critters needs to be on, the one I made is not good enough for the films. I'd need to make that better. That's different. But I really do love. In fact, today I think was the most I've been on. I think I just kept checking Facebook all day because I finished doing that mold and I didn't want to start something else today. I did, but I didn't want to get too deep into it. So I had some time on my hands, and I was like going back and forth, just checking it all the time, just hearing people's stupid comments that I love. Like I'm like, I put comments down, and I mean that in a genuinely loving way. Like,
no, we get it.
You know, it's cool to see this because as a kid, people called me Critter Chris and all this stuff and little Leo.
I got the Critter Chris going on too.
Yeah, it drove me nuts, but at the same time,
this is the best Christmas ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, other Chris. You're the new Chris. We got to stop calling him Sean for this one.
Chris Beard.
Yeah, I know. It's always cool to have all these other people do it, and also the pictures. Because I mean, as we all think we're the self-appointed biggest fans in some way, like I've had some access to some stuff that I haven't been able to show. I do have a lot of stuff that I can't necessarily post because it was given to me by people that until they give me permission, I won't. But I've honestly felt for a while like, oh, I got stuff that no one else has. And then I see you post stuff. I'm like, holy shit, I have never seen that before. And then some random people post something. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I've hunted down these magazines. I've had these when they first came out. Like Fangorias were expensive and hard to get. And I remember I made my mom buy like 4 because I needed to cut those things up when that Fango came out with
Badass.
And then I still see new ones come out, and not only like foreign ones, but ones in English. Like I'm like, where the hell is this? What is this picture?
No, it's amazing. The one dude in our group who just went and scouted out a bunch of the locations, who actually flew out from fucking Europe to do it, I believe.
Paul Ashland.
Yeah, I mean, what a fan right there. And he found all these clippings from magazines and shit over in his country, and you know. It's just like, how the hell are you finding these things, man? And it's amazing. There's just so much stuff that we're all compiling every day. And who'd have thought? You'd think by now we'd be like scraping the bottom of the barrel, but it just always seems like there's that much more.
Oh, I'm on the cusp of getting some really good stuff from hopefully, not me getting, but hopefully the Kyotos will be able to get released or some other things too. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that are. So it's cool. And again, these things they've been dead in the water for, since the early 90s until now, technically, but there's so much old stuff still popping up that's new, and it's going to keep doing that. There's going to be some random guy who goes, hey, I was a PA on that movie. I never saw this site, but guess what? I snuck my Polaroid camera in there, and I took this picture. I had a...
You're damn right. It's endless. It's never going to end. And that makes me excited to be a fan because I'm 31. I haven't grown out of it, and I don't feel any reason to. It seems like the whistle is still wet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, my son, he's 13. I got a 22-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old that they've never heard me shut up about Critters. Like to them, they're like whatever. But what's cool is on his own, my son has become a massive Critters Clowns fan. He loves Critters, and my son probably could hang with the best of us on this forum, too, with Critters. That kid knows what the fuck is up.
That's awesome.
But the Killer Clowns are his. And I didn't really notice it right at first because he wasn't, like, pumping it out. But then I started noticing him watching all the time. He's talking about it, and I asked him what his favorite movie is a few years ago, and he's Killer Clowns. So I was like, crazy because I was like, little dude? I was like, he looks like a little Leo, too. I'm like, oh, you little son of a bitch. Like, my favorite thing too was made by the same guys. And I said,
that's beautiful.
Would you like to meet them? And of course he's shitting his pants. He's like, oh yeah, that'd be so awesome. So I took him to Monsterpalooza last year. And before I even had a chance, I finally met up with the Kyotos because I got there a little late. And because I had to drop I had somebody else bring the critter I made the night before because I was working. And I was punching hair to the last second. It was just impossible for me to get there. So I didn't even get to see him. And I go up to talk to Charlie and Steve and them, and they're like, oh, yeah, we'd love to meet your son. Cool. And then as soon as I walk up with them, they're like, oh, him? Oh, he's been here all day. He's been nonstop. They were super gracious and awesome to him, too. But
that's awesome, man.
Pulling at me. He's on top of it. And so maybe it's Killer Clowns, and he's got a great eye for movies. He knows he likes the original Ninja Turtles over the new one, and he likes he likes the old school stuff because he kind of knows, and I'm sure I influenced it as well. But there's other kids out there. So there's gonna be this continuing legion of dorks growing and growing and growing. They haven't even been born yet. They're floating around in balls right now, just waiting to be born.
That's right, dude. The fan base will be the bigger critter ball in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to get back, I wasn't a fan of the big critter ball of the new one. I was like, oh.
Nah, I'm not either. You're alone on that one, Chris. Sorry.
Yep, I'm alone. I like the look of it and everything, but my major concern, and Sean, I told you this, was what can they do that hasn't already been done in part 2 with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a one-note joke. I have a feeling it'll go on that catapult or something. But like I said, if it does, I'm down for that. It's a good critter gag. I just want some gags.
Yeah. You know what most movies try to do? I mean, did you guys see the new Predator movie?
Yes.
Everybody wants to do homages, as they say. That was not homages. I was super bummed because Shane Black is the guy who pretty much rewrote the original and all that, and he was in it. And he's doing this one. Expecting more. So I'm not overly freaked out about pushing what's been done already on new stuff. It doesn't bother because that's what's in everything, so it's not as much of a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And I know they're gonna have to. I guarantee you they're gonna do. I don't like that Sonic the Hedgehog spin thing from part 3 at all. I guarantee you. I'm sure that will be in there. I'm sure the critter ball rolling over someone will be there. And hopefully some new fun stuff too, I mean, if you're gonna go crazy, let's at least, if I can.
I hope they bring in that green crystal just for a quick gag, and then they just break it and they're like, that's okay. It wouldn't have done anything anyways or something.
That would be cool because I remember I'm like, wouldn't that just have been on the whole time? And why didn't Charlie freak out about it? Because there was a critter right by him. Yeah, there was a critter there when they were in the woods when they discovered Charlie. The thing should have been whole movie. I know.
Hey, shut up, guys. I really like that the crystal. That was one of my favorite things as a kid, was trying to find my own crystal.
You're getting a tattoo of it, aren't you?
I'm going to try to, yeah. I know some people hate
so bad.
Some people hate that. They hate that crystal and they think it's dumb, but I always liked it as a kid, and I thought it was kind of cool, and I'd love to see it incorporated in a new movie somehow of does it glow just when a critter is around, or how does that work? I don't know. I just want to see it.
I wouldn't be mad if they incorporated it. I'd be stoked if they brought it in.
I told you that it'd be cool if a critter ate the crystal and then the entire time the critter was glowing green.
I'd like that.
Nah.
That'd be a good gag.
Not me. No, I'm good. I'll go with I'll go with what Sean said. I like what Sean said. If they kind of make a really good jab at it, that'd be cool. Because I always forget. Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's there. I don't even hate it because I forget that it even is there. And then you get that kid who was in Kindergarten Cop or whatever busting it out. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's glow in the dark stick, they're trying to do that thing from Lord of the Rings.
Those were twins, by the way. I'm sure you know that. But Chris has talked to one of them who played that kid, and Johnny.
Yeah.
And
really?
he still owns the crystal.
Yeah, Joseph Cousins.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you know what? I don't think there'll be people from necessarily Critters, but when you go to these when Monsterpalooza first started, it was much more art-based, and it was I actually thought it was a lot cooler, a lot less vendors. There wasn't older celebrities and stuff, but it's kind of turned into the typical Fangoria thing. And that's not the harp on it. It's gotten huge, and Elliot and them, I'm so happy for them for all they do, and cool artists get to show up. But that is something that is starting to happen a lot more now is you're just getting to see a lot of the older celebrities. And remember, in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of those old celebrities that were doing these movies, they were in kind of everything. I mean, Lynn Shay has been around. I've met her.
Oh, fuck yeah.
My daughter's a huge Lynn Shay fan. So
Dee Wallace was in everything, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have not met Dee. I don't do autographs. I've never cared about autographs. I don't take photos.
Me neither. I don't like it either. Yeah.
It's just my thing. I get people who do, but I just don't. And, I mean, I got Bill Murray's autograph because I was an extra in Kingpin when I was a kid. So that was
the only autograph I have is from Dean Backer, who was in Basketball and Orgasmo. And he was... what's that?
Dean Backer.
Dean Backer, is that how you say it? Oh, man, I feel bad.
Dean is one of my bros, man. Dean is fucking great. He's that little motherfucker. He is hilarious, dude.
Yeah, when I met him, I've met a few celebrities, and I'll be honest, it's always a disappointment. But he was awesome. I hung out with him for like a good hour. He asked me to get drinks with him afterwards, but I had to go to work the next morning. He was great.
No, I've known Dean forever, man. Dean is great. I love Dean. I haven't talked to him in a little while. I have to.
He sucks online, though. He's always just posting liberal shit. It's like, oh, just be funny.
Listen, I love Dean. If I doubt he will, but Dean, if you listen to this, you're my bro to the end. We've had some goddamn laughs, but I unfollowed you, bro. I had to do it. Like,
oh, me too. Me too. I even told him, I literally said to him, I was like, meeting you was one of the best moments of my life, but you suck online.
Dude, I guarantee you, he was like, fuck you, motherfucker. Like,
oh yeah. He has a little man complex.
He's so great, though. No, listen, this is all in good fun. I love Dean to death, and I do check on you, Dean. If you do listen to this, I check on you once in a while because I don't talk to you enough, and I do message him randomly just to say what's up. Dean, I will tell you this. We shot this, Mike Hill actually was directing a film a long time ago that I was going to kind of produce, and we made this bitch in Bigfoot suit. It was amazing, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest one ever, but it was really, really cool, and the movie never got made. So, Mike is one of the best artists ever, so to have him design this suit and do all this, it was awesome, and then he had the suit sitting around. So eventually, Mike got the rights back, and we were going to try shooting it again. We went out and shot some stuff, and Dean was going to be in the film. And so Dean came out with us to go shoot this. We were going to shoot this scene out in Big Bear. And I drove Dean up and back, at least back. I don't remember which one. But that was one of the funniest times in my life. I've laughed more with Dean than a lot of people. That guy, me and him can just – it's funny because in person, when you talk to him, he's way less because online when someone's talking politically or something, there's a little exaggeration, and there's also some a little bit of emotion that can be taken. I mean, texts are terrible. That's why I don't like to text when I'm always telling you call me, even though I don't want to talk to you really.
Right. Yeah. It can be read in so many ways.
How many things have been misinterpreted, relationships destroyed? You know what I mean? So yeah. I give Dean a little credit in that way because I'll tell you right now, when you hang out with that guy, it's no holds barred, the best time. You're laughing your ass off. He's creative as fuck. He's hilarious. Anyway, not to sit there and suck Ian's dick, but...
oh, no. He's one of the best celebrity experiences I'll probably ever have. So,
yeah,
but
fun to hang out with.
So let's see. What else can we say about Critters? It seems like there's some more shit. Oh, I got a train going by my house. So that makes it into about every podcast.
I was curious, Chris, what is the one thing from Critters, like the entire franchise, that makes you the fan? Like, what when you watched Critters for the first time, what was the one thing that you were like, I love this?
To be totally honest with you, that's a really tough question. I started listening to a couple of your guys' podcasts recently while I've been doing my stuff here, and I noticed you few people that, and that's a tough one for me because, in all honesty, as close and endearing it is to me and all this, the whole, because I saw it in his mouth. Hope that train is just a metro. But
you want to wait for the train to go back for a second?
Yeah. It hates you.
My apartment is connected to a train depot.
You are in New York.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, you better tell us when it's over, because they always end up busting their horn out at least one more time when you think you're done.
I can't even hear you. I'm actually here with the train.
Oh, not getting on the train?
Yeah, I'm getting on the train, dude. I'm coming to Monster Palooza.
Hell yeah. Like an old hobo. Emmett Kelly.
I do look pretty cool.
Is that thing still going?
Okay, all right, it's gone.
All right. So yeah, it's kind of a blur. It's I saw the movie when it first came out, and not in the theater. When it first came to, I can't remember if it was right when it came to VHS, which I think it did. Or if it was when it came to HBO. But I watched it a lot. Back then there was no Blockbusters and stuff, at least not in my hometown. There was we had Ted and Jerry's Video. They used to say,
hey, I had a Gary's Video.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they
cool.
were the best people ever. They always saved me all the movie posters. At one point, I'm sure I had some cardboard Critter stuff too. Because they knew I loved Critters.
Like the one I have?
What's that?
Like the one I have that says available on video cassette, that little cardboard thing?
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't remember for sure because I had a bunch of Critter stuff when I was a kid, but I was stupid. Just like with my Garbage Pail Kids, I used to stick them on my bed and all that.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
Magazine. But so I don't remember really where it came from, but I do because they would give me the movies all the time. They would save them. I almost feel like they may even have bought an extra copy. And back then they were like over $100 each. You know.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because I would get them all the time. And back then,
my parents actually special ordered a copy of Critters 3 for me from the rental store. I think it was $85 or something back then.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the 80s. It was a big deal to have. If you owned, I remember my first VCR. My dad had it. It had a 2-foot long, had a remote control that was on a cable. So
yeah. I have a video disc player. I don't know if you remember video discs, but that has a remote with a cord on it.
Yeah, my dad. It was the funniest shit in the world. He used to walk up and use the remote when it'd be faster, and he'd be like, "What the fuck?" Just hitting the button, and it wouldn't work. And you're like, "Dad, you can touch the VCR." He just had to use the remote. But
he's like, "No, we're in the future, damn it."
Yeah. But it was like a big deal. So I think that they got an extra copy, and like because I wanted it so much. But I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies when I was a kid, when I was really young. I mean, some I could, but my parents were, you know, a couple Arnold movies and probably Critters. But my aunt and uncle, they were these tattoo Harley hippies, like they were tattoo artists and all this stuff, and they were super progressive for the time. And they would always, that's where I watched all my horror movies really young, ones I could not watch with my parents. Nothing was off limits with that. It was great. And
that's awesome.
So they knew how much I loved Critters, and my parents had a couple friends. So it's tough to remember, to be totally honest, the whole like vibe. It was like I just know that during that time, I know that one of the best scenes I've ever seen in my life is the one where the critter hops up on the top of the couch. That's always been the best shot of any critter in any film. It's the most animal like that, or I mean, it does look like a lot like an animal too when the critter's up in the. When Jay goes down to the basement and he's in there in the cellar and they're in that one
beautiful scene. God, I always wanted to see more of that scene.
Oh yeah,
boy,
crazy.
Yeah,
but that would be my favorite part in all of them. I mean, because I remember I think I told Sean this about the so I remember seeing one trailer for Critters 2, one only, and because you had like 12 stations when I was a kid, that was it.
Sure.
And it popped on. It was halfway through already, and it showed the critter ball rolling, just like a little piece of it. And I couldn't leave the TV for a while. Back then, Movie Time was as close to anything you can find any information on. So Movie Time was the thing. And I think you even told the story, but they had one shot of a critter saying "Happy Birthday, Movie Time," and I big time. He was like, "You get the fuck away from my TV." But I somehow took control of the TV for days. I was just on there waiting and watching. It's like all that stuff that they blur. I remember crying a little bit when because I didn't know it was even out. I saw the Fango, saw the trailer, saw the Happy Birthday Movie Time. My theater never got anything. The movies never got to our theater. And
so you never saw the movies in theaters back then, huh?
Unfortunately, no, I never did. And I would have for sure. But Critters 2 definitely played in Tahoe, and it did not play. That's where my aunt and uncle lived. And they would have taken me for sure. And it didn't play in my hometown. I mean, hell, my hometown kept Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves for a year. It came on HBO, and it's still in our movie theater. That's not even a joke. And there was only 2 theaters, so there's 2 screens. So nothing came.
Yeah.
And
I get it. My town had a theater with 1 screen. I remember they only played Titanic for 3 months straight and no other movies.
Yeah, that's just like, come on, man. That was way later too. I'm talking about the 80s. So
right, of course, yeah.
There's no excuse for that in the 90s, man. That's when everyone was getting theaters. But yeah, my mom's friend, he worked at a grocery store which started renting movies, and he brought that over. And they used to be brown boxes. You didn't get the cover. The cover would be there. You bring it to them and then go get it in the back.
Oh yeah, it was that way with me too.
Yeah.
And I remember he handed me this. He threw it on my lap. I honestly, no joke, I remember the feeling of it hitting my fingers and hitting my lap and almost being annoyed about it. Like I feel the little corner of it poking me in the stomach. And he walked off. And I look, and on the side it says Critters 2, 1988. And I do remember tearing up. I couldn't get it in back. And when I finished watching, I had a dream that night, but that wasn't really the movie. So it's all. I mean, when Critters 2 came out and I saw it, I was 10. Critters 1, I was probably 7 or 8 by the time I saw it, and it was the whole thing was just huge to me, and no one else knew about it when I was a kid. I came from a town with a couple thousand people. No one knew, so it was just me all alone, and my mom.
All three of us came from small towns.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, here
my video rental store was just a mom and pop shop. As a matter of fact, it was a Gary's Video. The guy who owned it owned the apartment building that I live in now. He's a customer at my pharmacy and stuff. I had him sign an ex-rental of a movie and everything. He's like, "Why do you want me to sign it?" I'm like, "Dude, you owned the rental store when I was a kid." Yeah.
Yeah, that was huge though. I mean, now you can just get everything you downloaded, or you can everything's so
convenience, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
that new Leprechaun movie. There's no physical release coming out for it because they figure why, you know.
Really?
Yeah, there's no DVD coming out for that or anything. It's all just a digital thing. I ended up dubbing it to VHS.
Oh, I didn't even know. I mean, well, I have a VHS actually. I bought it from this guy. Plug source code VHS on Instagram. The guy he takes old VCRs and paints really bitchin' artwork on it.
Oh, you got a source code VCR?
Yeah, I got Night of the Living Dead. I was going to get Critters, actually, and I messaged him, and I said, I want that or Night of the Living Dead. And he said, I haven't done Night of the Living Dead, but I've done a Critters. I was like, well, fuck.
Well, I've seen your VCR then. That is beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I've been for a while been meaning to get a Critters one done by him, so maybe I'll get it done, buddy.
Yeah, well, he had one done already, which you could still do, obviously, but I was just like, for him, I gave him the option. I said,
yeah.
I got one for Kevin actually. I got him the Shockwaves one. And then,
oh yeah.
So I bought him both.
I haven't seen the Critters one that he made. He must not have posted it.
He did. I remember seeing it, and that was my friend actually who showed it to me. My buddy Ozzy was like, "Hey, have you seen this guy's stuff?" He always anything Critters he runs into, he always like messages me. So he sent me that VCR. But yeah, back in the day though, that was the VHS places, the tape stores, the rental stores was a huge deal. I mean, even when I would go to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and all that, it was like something to do. Where now every week you get another Jurassic Park. There was a time where those come out rarely, and videos were. I used to love going through and just walking through and going, okay, I'm getting one that I want, and I'm going to go take a risk, 2 covers, just ones that look like
exactly. And that's another thing about the video rental store and VHS was that cover art was amazing back then because that is what sold you the movie. I think DVD, all these movies got reissued on DVD. I don't like the cover art for Critters on DVD. I don't like the cover art for most movies on DVD. I think they just ruined them.
Yeah. Well, they ruined them, but Scream ruined it all, to be honest. And I know who killed me or whatever.
Oh, yes, and then Saw.
Well, I mean, Saw and all that came later, but the thing was, before there was artwork, and even in the late 90s when there was still not really DVDs, the cover started getting pretty shitty because of when Scream came out, they basically put all the actors on there looking like they're on some...
Yes, and that's why there's an era of that. That's what I was saying. The era after that is when Saw came out, and it was like the blank white thing with one thing centered on it. And you had 10 years of everyone ripping off that cover art, and that was awful.
Yeah. And you know what? That's one thing that used to bum me out because it's like old album covers. There's this place called Amoeba out here, and even before,
oh wow, yeah, I know about it.
Yeah, you just go and you'd be like, how many metal albums I've bought and hated, and how many I've loved just because I'm like, cool cover, man. These guys got
bad. Man.
Lots.
Right. I'm not really an Iron Maiden fan, but their cover art I will always think kicks fucking ass. You know.
Those cousins I was telling you about, my aunt and uncle. My cousin's boyfriend at the time was the biggest Iron Maiden fan. He's a shredder on guitar too. He'd play all of it, and Iron Maiden was Eddie everywhere as a kid growing up. So before I even knew who Iron Maiden was musically, I loved Eddie, like huge to me.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I feel bad, Chris. I didn't mean to go off. Like I said, I can definitely do that, especially when we've been sitting here for a while.
Well, you feel free to talk as much as you want about anything you want.
I've heard the
Yeah, dude, this has been a great episode.
But yeah, it's a blur. It really is. That one critter scene is my favorite. I don't know which I like better, 1 or 2. I can tell you 10 reasons I like 1 better than 2, and another 10 I like 2 better than 1. I just love this.
Yeah.
It's
Have you ever gotten the chance to see a 35 millimeter screening of either 1 or 2?
I've not. There was a lot of times out here I don't follow everything because I'm involved in everything in a way. Like as far as I hear a lot of stuff, so a lot of things just go back and forth. And I think there was 2 or 3 times that Critters has played. I don't know if
missed it,
but I hear about it after. Like one time I heard my friend sent me a message. She's like, "Oh, did you go see Critters?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, I went and saw it tonight." Like, you son of a bitch. You obviously knew about it before it started, and you didn't mess it.
I'm thankful that actually Fright Rags is based out of Rochester, New York, which, like I said, is like 40 minutes from me. They don't have a store, but that's where their warehouse is. And so they did a 35 millimeter screening for Critters, and it really sucked. I showed up to it, and it was a packed house. It was sold out and everything. And before the movie starts, the guy goes, "All right, who here has never seen this movie?" And like half the audience raises their hand. And then he's like, "Who saw it 30 years ago and doesn't remember?" And everyone else raises their hand. He didn't even give the question of like, "Are there any fans here?" for me to be like, "Yeah." So I'm sitting there. I'm the only one watching it who's like, saw it last week anyways.
I would love to see that. And I remember you talking about you saw the print that had the where you saw the boom mics and things in the thing, right?
Yes, that always stands out in the kitchen scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen that in Critters. I saw that in Jurassic Park when I was a kid. Because I saw that like 10 times in the theater. It was a huge one. And I remember that happened one time. They gave us free tickets to see it again. I loved it, though, especially wanting to be in the film business. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What? It was in the helicopter scene when they're flying to the island. I remember seeing that, and I was like, I didn't realize at that point that that's cropped out afterwards, not cropped out in the shot. Like sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. That's why you don't see it in every shot. And that was huge to me. I would have loved to see that in Critters.
Yeah, I would have too. I've never had a chance to see any of the movies on the big screen in 35 millimeter print. I've only ever seen a digital copy, and that was for Critters 2. But I did get to experience that movie with Don Opper and Leanne Curtis sitting side by side with me, so that was awesome.
Where was that?
It was back in 2011 in Jacksonville, Florida, for a cult fiction drive-in convention. It was kind of like the official Critters reunion, the very first one that they ever kind of announced.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never heard of that. There you go.
There's actually footage up on his Critters Rehatch YouTube page of the Q&A with Leanne, Dee Wallace, and Don Opper.
I've seen. I don't know if is that the one where? No, where.
It's the only one that Don Opper's in. Like he's never done anything else besides that.
Yeah, it's the only one, dude.
No, I don't. Maybe I haven't seen it because I haven't seen all the stuff that is on. I don't go crazy like searching things. I mean, I search things, but I'm less.
Yeah, definitely check that one out. It's really neat.
That is cool. I would have loved it. I don't care if someone said, "Listen, I'm going to put up the DVDs with the stupid intros and everything, and we're going to play it on a big screen." I would go see it. I think it's just cool. The prints are awesome when you see it with the crackly 35 millimeter for sure.
Of course,
but,
right. Like you said, the boom mics, but yeah.
Even without that, just seeing that, because there is a
right
that most people don't get. Like you guys may not have even ever really truly got to have it. I do remember being aware enough in the late 80s and the early 90s, seeing movies where now if I see a trailer that has the crackles and stuff, it really takes me back because there was a time where that was very prominent in everything you saw.
Yeah, I do have memories of that. I do.
It's so great to see the Critters like that, the Critters films. I would love that. And but then put it on I got a decent sized TV. Give me 1 inch bigger, I'm going to watch Critters on it. You know what I mean? It's just You know what's weird though? I will say about the new things is, I don't know if it was you, Sean. You posted a couple pictures. I know you had to lighten them up a little bit of the
I did.
Of the Critter stuff. Where did you get those shots, those stills?
That was before any of us got a copy. A few like promotion places were putting up screen grabs.
Okay.
And I was just taking them, brightening them up just a little bit to see more detail.
No, actually, you know what? I I don't take a lot from the films for reference for the because Critters 1 has really bad quality for freeze framing anything, and that's why I've waited so long to do one from part 1, because it's just hard to tell. And even Critters 2, if I didn't see more of the shape that they were in, I had done one. I did actually. I think Chris, you had mentioned you were going to go to the Savini school back in a while ago.
Yeah.
I was part of the test group for that pretty much. I was in there in I think 2000.
No, yeah, I would have went to it in 2000. It would have been 2006, I think, 2005 or 2006.
Well, I was like kind of part of the original like 2 or 3 classes that went there, and we did. And I made a critter for my animatronic. I never quite finished it, the hair work and stuff, and it was very more like a tube. It actually looked okay, but nothing like it should have. But I didn't really realize the body shape until I saw, some stuff from the Kyotos, and also it's actually when
why would you? Yeah, I mean, the Bald Larry is the best look you get, the Fryer one.
And I had a ton of VHS frozen frames and trying to take shitty pictures of it. But Critters 1's tough. It's a tough one. And even on the new DVDs, I went out and bought
Blu-ray,
them. Yeah, look, I'm old, man, I guess. They're all the same to me.
That's okay, buddy.
You're still on VHS, man. Back the fuck off.
I'm not We have listeners. Wait a
minute. No, but on the new one, I went and bought a 4K player because they're supposed to take the quality of a Blu-ray and even make them better. And
apparently.
I just ended up returning it because I was trying to get the screen grabs from. I did it on my computer, which is a good computer, and it doesn't look as good as those pictures you posted. Luckily, I got some good ones from Charlie. Charlie gave me a couple of pictures of actual sculptures from part 1. So they're not the greatest quality because some of them are pretty far away, but I could see what they look like.
I might have sharpened those pictures a bit too. I want to say, I definitely, good. Yeah, I know. I made them look a lot better than they did in the initial screen cap.
Yeah, I felt really bad whenever we were doing those screen grabs because I had gotten images from the DVD and compared them with the Blu-ray. And then here, everybody kept like sharing them and showing them online, saying, here's the comparisons. And people were posting on them, being like, "I'll take the DVD instead. I'll take the DVD instead." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm probably gonna make all these Blu-ray sales go away."
Well, you know what? Someone was saying about the blue colors and stuff, and maybe they did add that in the. But honestly, I just think that was a lot of the quality back then. You got to think film takes away a lot of reds. Old makeups, if you see the way they did them, they really pump up a lot of red and stuff because it goes.
Yeah, there is something about that first Critters though. That blue, it's almost like Suspiria in a way, where it just has this like color tone throughout it and whatnot. And
for sure,
I'll be honest, I watched the Blu-rays behind the scenes footage and I dubbed it to VHS. I didn't watch the movies, and I already returned the Blu-ray player because I think I spent 2 days trying to fucking figure out how to watch these damn movies on my old TV. And then by the time I did, I was just like, man, Blu-ray players are fucking stupid. I just returned it.
You know what? To be honest, I'm going to always have it. It's new. It's a new copy. I have Night of the Living Dead. I have like 50 copies of that. That's just anytime they come out with a new cover, I buy it. And I have that luxury.
Sure.
They do that often. So Critters, I'm going to do that as well. But I'm not going to put the Blu-ray. The Blu-rays will probably never come out of the box again. I've downloaded them to my computer. I was able to, to rip them to my computer or whatever, so I can watch them on Plex or whatever the hell.
Sure.
So I did that. I'm never going to look at the Blu-rays again. I do like the quality is definitely better, and I'm not knocking it at all. I'm happy they're there. But to be honest, I don't watch. Hell, if I'm going to watch The Warriors, I'm going to go find my shitty DVD or a VHS quality and watch that over the remastered version. I kind of like, I don't know if it's the feeling I had of watching it back then, but I like the grittiness of stuff. Texas Chainsaw.
That's why I still watch my VHS, man. The only way I want to watch my Critters films are on VHS. I've probably seen all of them on DVD once. I've watched them all on Laserdisc a few times because that was pretty much a VHS in a little bit of better quality.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if I'm going to watch Critters or anything, Texas Chainsaw Massacre I think is the best example. If you're going to watch that and there's a VHS copy, you're going to pick that copy, right?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that quality, I'd rather have it because a VH. I mean, I have my VCR, but that's more artsy.
Sure.
So because I don't want to have a million things connected, and the newer TVs don't play VHS very well. But as far as the quality, yeah, I'll go buy the $10 straight ripped from a VHS copy of a lot of older movies. I prefer, even though I'll buy the newer because they'll have extra stuff on it maybe. But I watched the cleaned up version of Texas Chainsaw, which my buddy Jamie is a really diehard fan of, and he likes the new one because he just likes that you see something. It just feels you see something different. It's like watching it different. But
yeah, I get that. Sure.
Yeah, I actually got that with the Critters movie because there was things that I was noticing on the Blu-ray that I never paid attention to whenever I watched them on DVD or VHS. For instance, there's a scene right after Charlie turns into the bounty hunter, and he just, something sudden that he does, he just kind of wiggles his ear. And I had never noticed that before, and I was listening to the commentary, and I just thought to myself, did he just wiggle his ears? And then they mentioned it on the commentary as well, and I thought that was kind of strange. That was the first time I'd ever noticed that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I noticed that like a long time ago. I remember that. I noticed the thing was for me, once the movie started going, I just forgot I was watching it on a Blu-ray. It was when it was bright and sunny in the beginning, like when you see Brad and Charlie first going off and they're playing with the slingshot and blowing shit up. That's where I told my son, like, whoa, this is noticeably different. Like when it's bright, I noticed it, or maybe it's just because it's towards the beginning. That was really cool.
And then those are all the scenes that really don't matter, though, too.
No,
when it comes.
I agree, but it was kind of nice when you're watching it to go, whoa, in any way.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
I've seen the movie so many times. I burnt out the VHS copy that I had. I had to make a copy. We had 2 VCRs at one point. I made a copy of it, and I burnt that out as a kid. Like, I used to watch it all the damn time, and so it's just cool to see something like you said. That one, if they make the cleanest version where it looks like video, it's so clean. I'll buy it and I'll watch it. I won't like it probably, but I will watch it. But
exactly.
It's cool, and I got it mainly for reference. If nothing else, like I got a bunch of these eggs. I got an egg it's one from the film. Oops, I just dropped it. So you can hear it bouncing away. So I got that, and I made a couple copies. And to try to find the real color of the eggs is actually kind of tough, because in the DVDs you look at it and they look kind of really lightly bright green, but they're actually darker than that. Just they're covered in dust and all kinds of shit. And I got better color matches from the Blu-rays, which was kind of nice. So there's because you can kind of see, oh wait, there's dust covering now. I always looked and I was like, why is there like this yellow crust on the eggs? But it's really just they were sitting in the hay, so they put.
I see.
So yeah, anyway, it's kind of cool that for things like that. That's the only reason I really watched the Blu-rays specifically. Otherwise, it's whatever Critters is on, I'm going to watch of those two. You're never going to make an amazing copy that's going to blow your mind. So, and it was behind the scenes and commentaries and interviews.
Right. And at the end of the day, I mean, someone could make a copy of the first Critters where it's all brightened and like you could see everything really good and whatnot. And I would love to see it just for the same reason you would. But they're supposed to be obscured in the darkness. That's truly the way to watch the movie. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
I completely agree. They were, and maybe they wouldn't have been had the technology been better then. Who knows? But that's how they were made back then. Specifically, they were masters at the medium that they had, and that's what they wanted you to see it as. So I agree.
Yeah, exactly. You know, to brighten it up and see more detail is really just like us fans being like, ooh, look, you can see a fucking extra hair on it there. Like we noticed there's eyebrows on them in the first one, apparently, you know.
Well, that was
pay attention.
That was actually from Charlie's photos that he gave me, because I was sitting there with them. We were going through it. I went there one of the times that we were. I was over there for my friend's renting some shop space over there, and so I was over there just hanging out, and I saw Charlie. And I was like, hey, let's start talking Critter stuff. I was asking about the eyes and all that, and he's like, so he started showing me stuff on his computer, and it was all the stuff that he was sending to, or some of the stuff he was sending to Screen Factory. And then I remember he went to that picture, and I was like, is that eyebrows on a critter? Like, holy shit, there's legit eyebrows on a critter. The one.
Yeah, I don't like them at all either, but it's still there.
Yeah, it's just cool to see. I think I sent you that picture just so you could see it. I was like,
yeah.
That was coolest.
I'll have to show that to you, Chris. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's.
You've seen it? Okay.
No, I said I'd like to see it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's one of the things I really liked about the new movies, though, or the new DVD releases, is that even talking to Charlie and them and really picking at them all the time for details and stuff, listening to their commentary and listening to other people talk, it's just cool to constantly hear new stuff. And I wish that they had taken some of the footage, the behind the scenes, since it was so little. I wish they'd have cleaned that up a little, because I do know that's one thing that Charlie's been really worried about. He doesn't even like to play those videos anymore until he finds.
Doesn't want to ruin it.
Yeah, because they go away. I mean, even old VHSs, like you'll watch it sometimes, you're like, was this the quality all the time? No, it was better.
Not at all.
It degrades. So
that's right. Because I mean, I'll get a sealed VHS tape every once in a while, and you'll put it in, and it's DVD quality, in my opinion.
Yeah,
when they're brand new.
Yeah. I mean, but that Critters 1 behind the scenes, I remember I messaged my cousin, the one from the Uncle I was telling you about, right when I did it. It was his birthday when I got it, so I messaged him. I was like, hey, happy birthday. You wouldn't believe what I'm seeing. Finally, after 30 years of waiting, I'm seeing a puppet like of Critters 1. And the quality obviously is deteriorated and stuff, but, man, I just sat there. I think that was the first thing I watched, and I watched the whole Kyoto's part probably 4 or 5 times. Just like...
Yeah. I've watched it 6 times, all the behind-the-scenes footage so far.
Yeah.
I love the walking critter in the first one. It's so funny. They have so much behind-the-scenes footage of them getting that walking critter. It is probably on screen for a second.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they picked that, even though I love it, and I'm super happy. I'm like, you guys spent a lot of time on that when I know Charlie had to have sent him a lot more stuff that they could have broken up into little bits.
They really wanted to focus on that with that behind-the-scenes footage on the Blu-ray, and I agree. I like seeing it, but it's like, boy, they're focusing so much on such a minuscule part of the critters, man, in the movie.
I bet you what happened was they got the footage. Charlie probably obviously is going to be unedited from not just Charlie, but those guys probably sent it was probably somewhat unedited to say, here's all the footage. And I bet instead of breaking it up, it was easier to just go, take this 10 minutes.
It does seem like that it's 1 10-minute footage of just one thing, so I can see that.
But the first one, when it shows the puppet and they're just working on the movement and stuff like that, that's some of the coolest thing. Even though it's really, the quality's not good, it's something that is for me is the upper and lower teeth thing. And that what's done differently in part 1 than part 2 for sure, which I'm not going to do per se for mine. It's going to end up looking the same in the end. But they did the teeth, the 3 rows of teeth on the top and bottom. They did 2 separate sections that didn't have the rest of the palate in there. It didn't have the rest of the gum line. It didn't have the tongue. In fact, they say, what's wrong? How come I can see your hand? He's like, oh, we haven't done the rest of the palate yet. But I thought, because I'll tell you one thing that drove me bonkers doing the critter you got was lining up the teeth to match the sculpture, to match everything up, to get it right, because you have to just kind of lock it in where it goes, and to make it fit because they have such an expression on their face. And I still feel actually that there's too much gum showing, and also the gums I spilled a little bit of pink towards the end, so I'm not going to lie, they're a little pinker than I'd like. But
I love it.
Yeah, no, but there's a little too much gum showing in that. But the way I build it, because they're core, they're not just quickly, cheaply made. Like there's a solid fiberglass core, it's a whole separate mold. When I built that and put the upward palate in, I couldn't get it any higher even if I wanted to. Luckily, it's right where it needs to go because it was actually just touching the eyeball. So had I seen this footage, I could have thought to have maybe done a separate piece so that I could have made that slight adjustment. Not that I would have made the critter much different anyway, but anyway, that was just something that was really interesting to me to see. Just those little intricate things, and also the fingers, seeing the hands and the fingers move the way it was and grabbing stuff. I didn't remember them being as articulate as that in the first one.
Not to cut away from that, but another thing I thought was neat was the scene of Billy's fingers getting bitten off. They said they took 6 frames out.
Yeah.
Now, those 6 frames must be lost because they didn't show it to us with those 6 frames intact. Did you guys think? It didn't seem any different, right?
Well, I feel that everything that was shot for the actual filming, like by New Line or Warner Brothers or whatever, anything that they had, they didn't get because everything that we got was specifically from the Kyoto Brothers or other people that worked on the film, not the actual studio.
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
they didn't care enough to do it. And I don't blame them. It's not anything for them.
Right.
You know what, though? Here's the thing. Even in the 90s, you remember that movie Event Horizon?
Yeah.
I loved Event Horizon. I really do not like Paul Anderson's movies at all. I think, do not like him. But, man, he really nailed it with Event Horizon. The thing I always wanted when I first saw that was more of the found footage that they had. Because I know they shot it. It was in a Fangoria. I have a couple friends that worked on the film, and they said, no, we shot ruthless stuff for that. And then I found out the reason that's not in it, because I have a special edition copy of it with a bunch of behind the scenes. It's not in there because even up to the late 90s, unused footage was packed away and not taken care of very well. And they never planned on doing it. So a lot of the extra, not behind the scenes footage per se, but additional cuts they use, the cuts, they're gone. Most of them are gone because no one's thinking behind the scenes later. If it was behind the scenes, usually it was movie time showing up on set, or there was a crew for that.
Right.
So that's about the extra cuts.
I'd love to see that 6 frames of footage because I always thought that scene looked like it was supposed to be gorier.
Yeah, well, you could tell if something happens fast. I didn't know specifically, but even younger, you could tell that happened a little too quickly.
Me too. I always thought that. Did you, Chris? Did you ever think that with that one?
Yeah, I always thought that maybe they that it's like a jump cut because they didn't want the critter to be shown too much. That's what I thought. I didn't realize it was because they had to edit out gore.
Yeah. Boy, it makes me want it more now.
Teeth touching. That's the weird part. Is like they didn't want to see the teeth touching the fingers, but they didn't mind the fingers being ripped off, and they didn't mind them running around with the critter gutting his stomach open.
And then, then there's that one, 2-second scene of up close of Billy's face while he's, bleeding. And that always seemed edited in. The footage looks different and everything. Yeah. And then they pretty much showed us the rest of the footage that was supposed to be with that.
Yeah, it looked like it was zoomed in.
Yeah, right, it did. It looked like afterwards they, maybe it didn't show a ton, but it showed more. And they did that zoom in. You could tell that even in the Blu-rays of the staple in the stomach of Lee, that Mick Garris mentions it in his commentary that they did a zoom in on that. I was like, oh, okay, because I always wondered why that always looked noticeably grainier. Yes,
yeah, that's so cool. Yeah,
and he's like, we
finally have those little things confirmed. It's such a big deal to us.
Yeah, I think even though they showed the boobs a whole bunch, they just wanted to. They're like, okay, we don't need to see the boobs in this shot for whatever reason. So.
Yeah,
but stuff like that, it happens a lot. I've been on many shows where you finally see the movie and you're like, I guess I didn't even work on that movie. Nothing I did even shows up.
Man, what a bust.
I was on The Hobbit for a long time, and that was a fun-ass movie. I didn't go to set much because they kept Weta very separate from on set for that movie for some reason. But a lot of the stuff that we did on screen, that was shot was either completely covered in CG or they just did too much. They just it was too augmented, I guess you would say, or however you want to say. It just didn't look like you did. And you're like, man, if I showed you pictures of things I did on that movie, you would never see it in the movie. And that's happened on a lot of stuff. Or you see something you spend 4 months building something, 10 guys on set with something, and you see it for a split second. You're like,
man, it's amazing.
That's what they want, though. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why you don't spend all that money and that time to show off what you did. You do it to make the effective shot that director's looking for. And it's a bummer because nowadays, which even back to New Binge, something that I am happy about is that the director, the effects guys, they're all involved in it. And whether it's good or bad, they're excited because most of the time, when I first started, I was the last of the old school generation, I guess, in effects, where there would be, I don't mean to say that as they don't do it anymore, but the directors used to come into the shops and there would be people that were involved in like the artistic vision of the film would come in and they'd be talking to people. There'd be big meetings and they would explain how they were going to shoot what you wanted to do. And we got a little bit of that back when we did Cabin in the Woods, which was really fun. It was like, it felt like
I like that movie.
Yeah, it was exactly what it wanted to be. It was perfect.
Yeah.
But
I like that one.
nowadays, you just have to...
You don't like that one, right, Chris?
No, I do like it. I just wish it wasn't shelved for like 3 years.
Believe me,
okay.
I was really... There was a couple reasons for that. One is I think they were trying to cash in a little bit on Chris Hemsworth. Because during that, when we were first starting to build stuff, that was the next thing he was going to start working on, was being Thor. So I think that was part of it. I know part of it got shelved because the people who owned it or produced it or something, it got pushed. It was called Mordecai when we were doing it. I don't know why. But there was a lot of stuff. In fact, just a little trivia on that I found out is, you know why at the end where they had the giant snake and all that kind of random CG stuff that happens in the big like climax of the movie?
Yeah, that was like the one thing in the movie that kind of threw me off a little bit, was the whole everything coming together at once.
Well, I didn't mind everything coming together. What I wasn't expecting was the why there was a giant snake out of the blue, and it fit for the film, and I still like it. But what it was so we were building all kinds of really cool stuff. It was a Dave Anderson shop, AFX. We were at the old Bat shop. It was a really cool, fun experience. We had Lance Anderson there, and all these guys, all these old school guys were there. It was really fun. And we got to like just play. People were just like, make this, make that. We need monsters. We need this stuff.
Oh, I bet that was so fun. Yeah.
It really was. It felt like, I was like, wow, I got a little taste of this when I first started out, and now it was like 2008 or something when we were doing it. But it felt like, I was like, man, I feel like I'm in the 80s or something. Everyone's there. I can't even begin to tell you the fun that we had on that show. It was one of the best experiences ever. But anyway.
That's awesome.
So we doing all this stuff, and it was getting towards the end of the show, and some of the guys had gone up to Canada. And my buddy Sean Smith, who was he was one of the guys that was like leading the crew up there. He was one of the main supervisors. And him and Dave Anderson and all the guys that they're called back, and they're freaking out. And just a quick little plug, Heather Blondenkamp, she plays Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street. That's Dave Anderson's wife, so she was there the whole time. She works in the shop.
Oh,
She's
cool.
Amazing. Super cool. So it was kind of cool, too. You're working on this old school horror shit, and then you got Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street hanging out every day. So that was cool. But anyway, so he calls up, and he's like, we need anything. Anybody have molds at home, masks, this, that, the other, whatever. Send whatever you can. Bring your molds in. Cast them up. And I didn't know why at the time. He just said, we need more. Because we built a ton of stuff. I never thought a show would ever do that again. We were building suits left and right, and puppets and whatever. And then I found out later the reason what it was is they designed that whole massive like compound to be way smaller when they're discussing it. So they designed and built and did their whole budget based on the size of that whole thing and how they could fill it up. And then when they finally got the set, everyone's like, holy shit, this is way bigger than we planned. We'll never fill this with people.
Oh, okay.
So that's the reason that a lot of the CG stuff and a lot of the snake got thrown in towards it, was because they couldn't fill the space. So it was when I saw it, I was like, oh, that was cool. I asked Sean about that. He's like, yeah, that's one of the reasons that they did that, was because...
Well, no, I personally, see, I always thought it was clever, because I always thought the giant CGI snake was supposed to represent giant CGI, like Sci-Fi Channel monsters. So I thought that was kind of the joke of that. So I always thought that was pretty clever.
It might, I'm not going to say that it wasn't. This is just something I just kind of heard off the
top.
Right. But it makes sense.
Well, even if it's not, I still like my theory. It kind of makes it for me.
And I think it would. I think you're right either way. Even if maybe it wasn't supposed to be as big, I guarantee they would have had CG in there to be CG.
Right, because, I mean, that is like a trope in horror now, and that's what that movie was. It was to me, Cabin in the Woods is like what Roger Rabbit is to like the golden age of cartoons, you know?
Yeah, no, it is. It played on everything, but it did it right, and it's fun. And even to segue back into New Binge, it's something that that's the one thing I am really excited about. Again, like I said, is the director, he's a producer, all these people, they're into it. Whether it's terrible or great, doesn't matter almost in that one way. It's really refreshing.
That's right.
People involved that are, whether their vision is good or bad, it's their vision and they're involved. Because nowadays, half the time you're on set, it's a director for hire. They don't care. I've been on a lot of stuff where you're like, really?
Critters 3 and 4.
Yeah. And it's stressful. Because you work your ass off. You work your ass off on stuff sometimes. And some stuff you're not the most proud of. Sometimes you're really proud of things. And it's, a flip of the coin sometimes when you get to set. Sometimes you make the coolest stuff and you're ready to show it off and be all excited. And someone's like, hey, just throw some blood on it. And all right, hurry up. What are you guys waiting for? All right, next. Just done.
Yeah.
Damn. So this guy, at least, he seems excited about what he's doing. So who knows, man?
Absolutely.
And you
Props
guys
to Jordan Rubin.
Have you guys heard what the release is? I know you said it's coming out in March, you heard, but any idea of how it's coming out?
Someone posted yesterday in the group. What was that, Chris? He posted some clipping that said that YouTube Red might get it. It was listed in there.
I think that's just kind of like a theory, just because of what the original idea was, it being like a digital series. And it was supposed to be on the Verizon Go 90 app, which is now like dead. But once that whole like Sci-Fi acquiring the rights and stuff to it, I was assuming that Sci-Fi is just going to release it on their channel during March or something like that. I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows exactly what's going to be.
I hope they don't.
Yeah, our theory at the beginning of the year was that when this Blu-ray came out, it would come with like an extra, disc to advertise New Binge, but absolutely nothing was mentioned about New Binge on that Blu-ray box set. So.
Well, I hope they don't do the 10-minute episodes. I really, really hope they don't.
Oh, we always hated that idea. That is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's just
like I was saying, every 10 minutes. Last time on Critters, it's like, come on, dude.
Well, especially because most of us are going to get it all at once and watch it anyway, and then it's just going to be more annoying because then you're going to spend a minute of each episode rehashing the last episode that you just spent 10 minutes watching.
Exactly. I don't want fucking Jerry Springer type shit,
Yeah.
Hopefully, whatever it is,
recapping every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I hope they put it out. And if it's YouTube Red, cool, because then I don't know, whoever puts it out may have their way with editing and cutting things out. And one thing I am hoping. Wasn't a huge fan of Zombievers. I didn't hate it, but I was like, whatever. Idea sounded cooler than it showed up. But I'm hoping with this that if he's going a little bit crazy and they get a little over-the-top gory or over-the-top sexual or whatever it is that's going to push something to a little bit of a boundary, I hope that whoever gets it doesn't decide they're going to push back on that at all. It's like, come on, guys. This is the 2018. You can watch and see whatever you want. Don't take away stupid shit from the little bit we're going to get.
Yeah. That's something I kind of wanted to bring up because they kind of ripped off my my script for Critters. With people fucking a critter and then having a hybrid. And that's kind of bullshit. I'm not too offended. They beat me to it. I don't have the budget and stuff. But
it's just going to make your Critters even better, dude. Now you just got to push it even farther.
I really think, I got this dude, he's in the group, he lives in my town, he actually works for Guar, and he's doing like a big home video documentary for Guar right now, and he approached me at my job and was like, dude, let's really do this Critters thing, and I'm like laughing, I could see it on his face, he's like, no, really, I have money, let's do it. He wants to make like a 5-minute trailer, and he's like, even if we just put the fucking trailer out, on tape or whatever, I think it might actually happen.
No, don't make a film. Don't make a film. Do a badass trailer. That would be way more effective. It would be so good, even if it's like 10 minutes long. Like,
oh, exactly. Yeah, there's no point of a film. Yeah.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
It would be. You could come up with some hilarious stuff because, like, you remember that? What was it called? There's a guy who drew all the dicks. It was on Netflix, like American Rebel or something like that, American Vandal. Did you guys ever see that?
Okay.
It's hilarious. The whole thing was like that How to Make a Murder that was super popular. They basically did that, but it was this high school kid who drew dicks, and they were trying to figure out who drew the dicks on the cars, right? It's really funny. It's a 10-part series just like the other one was, but they're each an hour long. It's like 8 or 10 hours long. And it loses a lot. But I can tell you right now, if you just watch the trailer for American Vandal, the trailer is all it needed. It never needed more. It's so funny. And
Gotcha.
I think Critters could totally, if you put a bitch and trailer together, that would be hilarious.
I think it would actually get big too. I
laugh at the fucking title. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I was gonna take all the names from the group. Like I had some just like Paul Asford, and Chris Sachs.
Dude, I would totally help you out. I'd do some effects for that, no problem, if you wanted some stuff.
Oh, we're there, dude. We're gonna make Critters a thing then. Oh no, the Critters are here. Better fuck it. I just want like lines like that, and I want the tagline to be "It's better than Critters 4."
Because it will be. Dude, that is awesome. Man, we've been on for a long time, and I'm still cool to go on it. But I was just going to say, I hope it recorded the whole thing, and you guys don't have any issues. And this is almost like a Joe Rogan length podcast. It's like 2.5 hours or something.
Yeah, it needs to be more offensive, though.
You got to go balls out. If you do it, go balls out. And I'll help you out. I'll fly out there and do some damn stuff for it, too. I swear to God, that would be hilarious.
Oh, that'd be so fucking good. All right, let's make Critters a thing. Let's do the pact right now.
Yeah, that would just be good. Then you get stamped somewhere along the line if you did something in the history of Critters. And
absolutely. I'd probably get an IMDb.
Mm-hmm. It might be the most iconic Critters thing ever. I mean, it would be infamous.
It could, well, especially if I get it on VHS and put it in like the old big box VHS porn style with awesome cover art, man. Just like some hot chick like stroking a giant critter that looks terrible. Like that would just be awesome.
Got to make it gritty and grindhousey and just
absolutely,
just dirty and hilarious. That would be funny. I'd be more excited about that than anything else Critters coming out. I'm not even. If it's done right.
From where it would be a trailer, like, you would have to, like, not show everything. So it'd be really funny if, like, there was a critter standing next to, like, this one girl, and then the critter kind of looks down, and then, like, the blurry image of, like, what would be, like, a critter dick would be, like, blurred out, where you couldn't really see it.
Like Japanese coffee that can't show pubes.
Or just the bounty hunters being like, we're here for the clits. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The bounty hunters got to be in there.
Eat more clits, just things like that.
Yeah, dude, that would be good. It's in, Chris. That part's in. Yeah. We're taking an odd turn for the podcast here, so hope everyone, if they're even still listening by this point.
No. Well, on my phone it says we're almost on the 3-hour range. So should we wrap it up here, guys?
Yeah. I told you I could go off on stuff with this. I forgot we were even recording that the whole time.
Well, I've been sitting in this car out in like the snow now for.
He almost died. We were joking about hoping he died. Now he really does.
Dude, my hands are so numb I can't feel myself holding the phone anymore.
Well, now you can listen to the podcast and you'll probably have forgotten it all from hypothermia, so you can actually listen to it fresh.
Well, usually I don't remember anything because I smoke so much pot. So.
But yeah, guys, no, this has been a good time. I appreciate it and stuff, and it's been.
We appreciate it, man. I mean, absolutely.
It's a conversation we probably would have had anyway, so that's kind of more fun.
Yeah, I would love to have you on another episode and talk some more about it. Like even go through and have some conversations about thoughts on part 1, 2, 3, and 4, not just what new binge and stuff. Just
yeah, if you'd be a reoccurring guest, we would definitely take it.
Oh, dude, believe me, I know I've been gabbing a ton on this, but there's definitely more stuff. Stories I have, things I know. I know I wasn't on the films or anything, but just from talking to these guys and maybe too, I talked to Charlie. I'm actually going back on Friday. My friend Sean, the guy from Cabin in the Woods, he's the guy over at the Kyoto shop. Now I'm going to be there Friday for something for him, and every time I'm there, I hang out and talk to Charlie if he's around. So I'll talk to him and I'll ask him, because he did give me a lot of photos and stuff that were intended for the DVDs or the Blu-rays that did not make it. I'll talk to him and see what he's okay with me showing, or maybe try to get him to post them, because a lot of it's his. He has got a lot of art, which a lot of the design stuff you've seen, but there's some other ones that haven't been seen. He's got a couple other treasures that he's told me about that I don't want to bring up yet, but I'm going to really press him, and maybe I'll even ask if he'll sit down and do a podcast with you guys.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
You'll get a lot of political stuff too. I love it. I'll talk to him. Last time I talked to him, I think we talked, not even kidding, for like 3 or 4 hours. I was just going to ask him about some iForm stuff. I was like, hey, I got this stuff, and we talked about everything else. But
we would probably have to have you on the podcast with us and probably record it for us, because our end now of recording everything has been like failing miserably. That's why we haven't had many episodes recently.
Yeah, we suck.
I did record. I was trying to figure out some stuff earlier today with my brother. I wish I'd have had more time because I could have figured it out. I used to like record music and stuff, so I used to have better equipment. I got enough to just record my guitar now, so I'm like, oh, I'll just plug my phone into it. And it worked perfect. It sounded so clean for my brother, like when I was talking to him. It comes in flawlessly. It's on my computer. You can watch it record, and it sounds like you're like any other podcast you've ever heard, like really professional quality,
Right.
Even messing with it. But for some reason, when you plug anything into your phone, to take away, it's only the output. It's not giving the input sound. So
yes.
if I could find a way to get, I was thinking actually if I could take my son's phone, which just happened to be broke, and we do a 4-way call instead of or I guess this kind of is with the recording device, but do it that way, and it can record on there, it'd be flawless. And that's something that even if I'm not involved in the podcast, if you guys are doing, you might be able to call me up and I can just put myself on the line, hit the button, and record it for you guys.
Yeah,
man,
that'd be
awesome
great.
of you.
But yeah, I have like Barry Opper, Don Opper, the Kyotos, and a few other people that they said they'll do the podcast and everything, but I don't want to go through and have another incident where we, got Sean Owen Roberts to do 2 interviews with us and still didn't get a single second of it. So.
Well, you know what? Let me see what I can do on my end for that, just to see what I can help you out with. And also, whether you can make it or not, Chris, if Sean does end up making it down,
I will.
There's one of you guys there, and we'll have to figure out, because it's going to be a super busy weekend no matter how we look at it as far as the things you'd want to do to compare to possibly what we could do. But, you're going to have access to the Kyoto brothers there for sure. It might be something you can do some interviews there, depending on their time.
That'd be amazing.
They are. Maybe we can get to the shop. That's what I'm hoping to do, is be able to take you down there. I'll just walk away, just let you hang out with those guys, because I'm still like a little kid every time I go in there. And I've been to every shop, and still that shop, I'm like, ooh, every time. So if nothing else, at least you guys could probably work something out that way. And I'll, if I do see Charlie on Friday, or any of them, if I see Ed or Steven too, I'll just bring it up. Just say, hey, if you want to do it. And if that's the case, I will find to get that recorded better, so you guys at least can trust it'll be recorded.
Awesome, man. And if we all get together in person, we could do a podcast together in person, man.
Fuck it, let's do a commentary. I'll watch Critters any day. We can sit at my house, smoke a bowl, and watch.
Absolutely. Oh, dude. Okay, cool. Because I was worried I wouldn't be able to find weed out there.
Friends, you're coming to like the place of it out here. This is like the land.
Well, I have bad luck. You know what I'm saying? I'll get to California and it'll be like, it's banned again.
It actually was easier and better when it was banned. I'm not going to lie. It's actually more of a hassle nowadays. But
I've heard. Let's not get into a weed podcast.
Yeah.
So.
No, but yeah, if you guys come down for whatever reason, if you're bored, obviously you'd probably be crashing my pad anyway. So just pop on the movies. We could do a corny little commentary of our own. That might be kind of fun.
think that'd be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be
Chris,
great.
You got to make it happen, brother.
God, I got to try so hard, I know.
Well,
you do.
we can always put you on speakerphone or whatever and do it that way.
Yeah, that's
true.
That's always a backup there. So, but I'm going to try my best, guys. I'm going to try to get down there and, have some fun with Critters. So.
Yeah, don't get
right.
So it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's a show, and it's just some stuff. But if you could, that'd be really fun. I think you guys have a great time.
Absolutely.
It's more fun to hang out with people that are as excited as you are too. It's a little different when you're
exactly.
Guys.
Like I said, that'll be the best week of my life outside of my wedding.
It'll be better than wedding. I'm just gonna say. I'm just throwing that.
I'm never getting married. That's the joke. Well, on that note, let's wrap this thing up here.
Yeah, you guys are ready to start work, huh? It's like 5 in the morning. Yeah.
You got to work in the morning?
No, I'm harassing you guys, joking, keeping you up all night is what I'm saying. Because it's 9:30 or something here, and it's got to be after midnight too.
Yeah, I got to be to work at 9 in the morning.
Yeah, I got to be there at 8:30.
All right, so let's wrap it up. If anybody made it to the end of this podcast, you win.
Yeah, congratulations. I can't believe it.
Yeah, you're as nerdy as us. I guess there's not too much to say, man. Thanks for being a part of it, but honestly, you feel just like a friend to me, so, it's not even like thanking you, but, we're glad we met you. We got a cool community here.
No, I'm super happy too. Thank you guys. I feel the same way. I send you all kinds of random stupid shit all the time, you know what I mean? So I feel the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, dude.
I appreciate all the, giving me praise and stuff for the critter I did. I definitely do, but it's literally only because I'm just one of you guys that just got lucky enough to have some access to good reference and good artists around me to help me do it. So, but I still appreciate that, guys. And hopefully better stuff to come. It'll keep coming. I'll let you guys
it will.
The part one as soon as I get it furred up.
Hell yeah. Can we get a kill more Crites from you?
All right, guys. Kill more Crites.
Kill more Crites.
Kill more Crites.